Jason Cabot's experience. Our guest today is Kate Julia. Kate, ready to be great today?
I'm great.
Yes. So, Kate, what do you do for fun?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Sort of softball question to start off.
Yeah, I was ready for the direct ones. For fun, I like to enjoy learning about others.
Okay.
And I love to read. I love romance novels.
So how do you learn about other people? Just observe them? You do a full research project on them?
Yeah, I'll read autobiographies, ask friends a bunch of questions. I love just being near people. When I was younger, I remember I was the type of person that would hang out at the mall and just watch.
People observe?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. The interactions, the first dates, the 10-year dates, I love love. And so being able to see that through people's eyes and their stories.
So next, you still do this open water, water diver stuff?
Oh, open water dive. Yes. So I have done it a total of once. Like 4 or 5 days. I did it when I learned a couple years ago. I went to Malta, the country, and I learned how to open dive. I got my certification, so I can go out here.
So does that ever expire?
Certification? It does and it doesn't. It's really good. Like when you are learning if you haven't gone in a while, just go and do a class or make sure you always have a buddy with you anyways. And then a couple of years later, if it has been a while and you haven't remembered everything, you need to know the hand signals. It is your life and it's people's lives at stake. And so if you don't feel prepared, you need to be able to be prepared.
So what's the time period to do this? Like it's like month training, 2-month training, just one day?
Yeah, I was in Malta. So it was 4-day training plus online stuff. So it takes about a week total to learn everything.
And what's the deepest you've been?
The deepest I've been, I think we can go 30 meters. So I think we did like 30, 35. I know we went 5 more than what we were
Supposed to.
Yeah.
You haven't done it since then?
No, I haven't because
why not?
I got pregnant just a month after I learned. And then, so yeah, now is about the time that I should go back out. I've been, I nurse my daughter. And so I don't like to be away from her for a certain amount of time. And so it is, it can be a half day or a full day event. And so when she's at that level where I can be gone for a while and head out.
I guess it was pretty fun to do.
It was absolutely, it's amazing, right? I mean, for people who have gone through trauma and to be able to experience, there's nothing else around you. Your past doesn't matter. Your future doesn't matter. You have to live in the present because
if you don't, it'd be pretty dangerous, I'm guessing.
Exactly. And so just having that experience of, we're humans on a ball of water.
People don't realize that, especially like people like live on middle of America, like no water around, like there's like mostly water. People don't realize that.
Yeah. And we're made out of 97% of water. So we're these humans made out of water on a ball of water, except we don't have gills. And so the experience that we can actually be in the water, it's phenomenal.
It makes you kind of wonder, have all these evolution theories. Like, did we actually come from water, right? Did millions of years ago, some small animal with gills come in the water, and over the use of evolution millions of years we have no gills no more?
Well, and it makes me wonder if we were punished by the gods at once because, we had this entire experience and then they took it away from us because we were too arrogant or ignorant, It does make you wonder, right? Like between like the scientific, the
science fiction and all the, conspiracy theories, all that. Yeah. So do you still have all your equipment, or you rent it from that Malta place?
I rented it.
So you have to buy new equipment, I'm guessing.
Well, you always need new air. And then, so you just need a really good wetsuit, but pretty good wetsuits come at a big cost. I thought when I was pregnant, I'm like, I'm just going to cut a hole out and then attach another, and as the belly grew. But so it was good. So I'll have to go out and get some more. I'm excited. I have a 5-year-old, and when she turns 10,
You
I'm
gonna take her?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's the whole reason actually I went.
Did you see any like crazy looking creatures or sea animals when you went deep sea diving?
So you get to see animals that are a completely different color, right? Freshwater versus sea. And I've been so I did see there's a barracuda, and then this little shark. I've seen
Okay.
those. So that was pretty chill, right? But you know the what freaked me out the most were there bubbles going up.
What?
Yes. Yes, and so this little volcano and it just bubbles are shooting out of, like they're just going up. And so you're in the water. There's a bubble it's forming. And so we all just stood there and we take a cheesy photo by it. But that for some reason just, I could see all the different color fish. I can see a barracuda, but seeing bubbles come out of something in the middle of like the water. Yeah. That
what is this?
totally fascinated me. Yeah.
I know it seems like they say almost every day they discover a new animal in the sea they've never seen before, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been more than 80. I mean, well, we can see that study, but we know more about space, it seems like, than we even do.
Yeah. I think water, you discover maybe like 10% of it or something, some real low number,
Yeah. That's why I love the Meg movies, because if we go in the deep sea trenches, I'm like, what do we do?
I mean, Atlantis could very well be down there somewhere, right?
Yeah. And why would they want to touch us? And like,
It'd be dumb to come with us.
yeah. And I could see why, the hurricanes, the tsunamis. I mean,
You know what? Here's something crazy. Maybe the hurricanes are like the land that's attacking us and we don't even know, right?
oh my, completely. Right. Why? I mean, if we actually learned how to respect the water, what it would do back for us, how would it treat us and how were the animals treat us? And it's crazy if we could actually all do that and see.
Yeah, good over there. Don't hold your breath on that one. So with deep sea diving, you want to start doing it again. Where would you go to? I mean, like you go deep diving, deep diving today. Is that any bucket list place you want to go to?
Guadalupe.
Guadalupe, okay.
Sharks.
Sharks.
The home of the sharks.
Okay, you want to go there?
I love sharks. I do. So I would swim with some sharks.
So I guess you walk what's that thing that comes on that? I think it's called Shark Week.
Shark Week. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You glue the TV then?
Yeah. Most of
calendar gets blocked off. No work gets done. Kid don't bother me.
Yeah, it gets to the point that my daughter will run up to people with shark shirts and make sure that she's like, Mom, shark. Because she's so excited to tell me that there's a shark.
Any favorite kind of shark?
I love hammerhead sharks. So I used to have a company named Hammerhead, and they can reproduce without males. So it's a pretty cool shark. And I love basking sharks, because all they're doing is sun tanning, and
And do sharks only live in warm water, or they're like all across the world in any kind of water, so to speak?
They like warmer, but they're actually discovering the more deep in the south, like deep in the water, right? They're discovering more.
Don't they like kind of like birds? They have like migration patterns. They migrate to different places each year.
Well, it's interesting. We actually don't know that much about sharks, and so I think in 2018 is when we discovered even a similar migration path as to where they are birthing and why they're going places. But even as we track them, they'll have some that they hang out in Guadalupe, and it's more of like their vacation spot, and then they'll go up to California or they go up to Mexico, but it's not the same every single year, and they're not doing it together.
I'm probably making this up. I remember a couple years ago where there was a shark spot off the coast of Maine, and people are freaked out like there's never been a shark here before, and this big great white shark showed up the coast of Maine.
Yeah, and I think there's more and more sharks that are going towards the northeast of America or like Nova Scotia, and partly maybe because they're gonna attack us, so they're gonna go through all the other ways.
Yeah, So, ease your target up in the main.
Yeah. Well, they're also saying it's because our waters are warmer.
Yeah.
And so they're just kind of moving, they're going with the water.
So next, talk about being yoga instructor certified.
Yes. I was certified when I was in college. I have been doing yoga since before middle school. It was the only thing I couldn't feel like I could be perfect at, because the lesson in yoga is that you need to be perfect at being imperfect, or comfortable with the uncomfortable. And for me, I'm like, I need this in my life. And then my love of people. Why not teach others?
And so, can you talk about how hard yoga actually is? A lot of people, think, oh, you're just taking a stance, you're not really doing nothing. Can you talk about how the difficulty level of yoga?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the essence of yoga, right? Is you can make yoga as simple or as difficult as you can make it, right? But think about savasana, right? We lay down every single night before we go to bed. But how many of us cannot even do that correctly and are staying up, and 3 hours later
Your mind's racing, things pop in your mind. I think it's called monkey brain, where your mind never starts off and what you try to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you get to the point where you're practicing daily, and say 4 years later, right? You're still, you can be doing the same sun salutations that you've been doing for 10 years, and your brain hits a block. And then that can be more, um, there's the different types of yoga, vinyasana, where it's more sport yoga. You're getting there, hot yoga, you're working to get a sweat, right? But where yoga came from, which is what I really appreciate it, is you're trying to hit, let's say you're trying to hit nirvana, right? Well, with yoga, you can't just sit there, right? And so they started forming these different poses to be able to open different spots in your body. So if your heart is closed, or if you're holding a lot of pain in your shoulder, if you release that, then you would be able to bring that thought and then let it go, right? But it's harder to reach if you can't get it, right? It's like even when you're doing a massage, release it and then it lets go. And so that's what's difficult about yoga for people. I mean, everyone can do it, but how difficult is it for people just to shut off their brain?
Yeah. So what are the benefits of doing yoga, either short term or long term?
Um, so they've been having a lot of studies. There was a guy, he was a parachuter, jumper in the army. He skydived over 300 times. Well, after he got out, his spine was condensed. Very difficult to walk. He either had to have a cane, but most of the time he was just in the wheelchair. So he came out, said, I have done yoga and now I can walk, right? You hear about those stories. But there's also just simple stories of, you can lay on the ground here and you put your legs up, and that will release the blood to your brain, right? I mean, it's super simple. Well, that can help heart disease because you're getting more blood to your heart. It can help depression because, you're getting blood to your brain. It can help varicose veins because, again, you're getting blood through your entire body. So you're just moving it around in ways that you typically wouldn't, especially in our day and age for sitting on a laptop.
So random fact, people don't know this. So people in the army they're called paratroopers.
Yeah.
They lose an average of an inch over the army career because of jumping. Right, some lose as many 1 to 2 inches off their height.
Oh,
A lot
wow.
of people don't realize it. Yeah,
And that's just condensing, right? So,
yeah,
I can ask, right?
yeah.
So does the army, does the military have something set for them and practices as
Not
they're
really,
getting out of that?
because nothing like it's not mandatory yoga. It's more like suck it up, go jump again, right? 'Cause of course, it comes from their jumping. Most of the things think skydiving, just jump. In the army, you have maybe 100 pounds of gear on your back. Your weapon, and so it makes it worse. And then of course, if you're say you're 5'10", 200 pounds, and someone else is 5'8", 135, so big guy's gonna like, it's really do worse. It's gonna like,
Yeah.
fall faster,
So do they choose specific smaller humans?
Not really. It's just, there's really no rhyme or reason to it, I mean, there's no, yeah. I mean, females do it, males do it, all sizes, all everything. But the thing is, no matter what, you could be like a 5 foot, 90 pound female or 6'2", 240 guy. The what you carry is still the same amount, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't matter. You still have to carry the same gear,
Okay.
which is like, no, I would say maybe not unfair as a 5 foot person. Yeah.
Yeah, on their body. It's interesting. But even in America, we don't think of that as a holistic point of view of even you give birth and they're like,
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah. I know, right? So yoga, I know different kinds of yogas, right? There's hot yoga. There's something called goat yoga. I think Do people? What is that like? You do yoga with the goat, or the goat's on your back or something? Like, is that really a thing, or was this like something made up on the cartoon?
Yeah, I think it was one of those scenarios. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. But it's a moneymaker. Let's do some yoga with some goats. I mean, in Nepal, they have their goats hanging out on the mountains, so maybe it's a little intertwined. But there's also, there's dog yoga, cat yoga. Yeah.
So do you still teach yoga?
So I do not officially teach yoga. I am specialized with prenatal and postnatal, and I love my pregnant mamas and teaching them. But I've learned more to practice it at home, and then that's helping me then create work.
But anyone not do yoga? I was like, is there any like characteristics or like health conditions where that person should not do yoga?
I'm not a doctor, but I think everyone in the world.
How does someone get like started in yoga? Is it something you have to do, or you have to take a health test, or you just join a yoga thing?
I mean, we could do yoga right now in our chair. Put your legs up.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can just put, I'm going to have you do yoga real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So you'll have your left knee, you can bend it in,
Okay.
and then you can put it on top of your right knee. So your left ankle will be on top of your right knee.
Okay.
And if you fit, there's kind of a little slot there. It's like your body's made to be able to form there. Okay. And then you'll just swing your right ankle underneath your left knee.
So left over right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There you go. You're doing yoga.
Okay.
And you can do one knee. So while you're watching TV, while you're on your laptop, and then Savasana. Everyone lays down.
Okay. Is there such a thing like a yoga national championships or anything like that, or
I don't
some kind of yoga competition?
I don't know. And I think it would be interesting about the yoga competition is, so many people can move their bodies in so many different directions and ways. But how do we compete to say, hey, you've gone through a lot of trauma, right? Like, how do we truly get that competition of like, this person has gone through a lot, but can you meditate through it? Right. I think then if we did that, we would kind of be getting into
yoga thing.
Yeah, we'd almost be getting into what with the Stanford studies. Remember those, like the 1970s, and they like tortured the kids on.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think truly to get the essence of a yoga competition, we would be bringing out unethical.
Yeah, that was a crazy experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the things people did in the 70s, 80s, you're like, what were we doing?
Yeah, where you're just taking LSD, right?
Yeah. So you still speak Portuguese? Portuguese? How do you say it?
Oh, Portuguese. No, but I have a tattoo.
Do you?
I do. So I used to speak Portuguese and Spanish and a little bit of French. And then I had babies. And I used to play the ukulele. So those are my things
You
that.
still play that?
No, then I had a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, babies can be time consuming, no doubt about that.
So you pick and choose what you like to do. And what we are going to start learning is that now Olive is 5 and my youngest, she's 1. We're going to start learning Sanskrit in the
Okay.
house. And
You got 2 girls? Okay.
yeah. So we'll be learning, so we'll be studying Sanskrit and, doing that towards our meditation practice. Figure that would be kind of a fun
Thing to do.
yeah. And then maybe one day I'll live in Brazil for a little bit and get my language back.
So how did you learn that language?
An ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I was in college and this beautiful Brazilian. Of course I'm gonna learn the language. Like, yes. Yeah, I wanted to speak to his mom. Get on,
That's a good reason.
Yeah, get on the good side.
And are you still involved with the Girl Scouts?
Oh wow. Wow.
Back in
No.
college days.
Yeah, I was part of a sorority actually. And we volunteered a lot with the Girl Scouts. Now I've been thinking about getting my girl in the brownies. And so I think we'll be in the brownies. But yeah, again, you figure out what's important in your life and the timing that you're going with it.
One thing about you, like you sound like you've done all the experimentation, a whole different lot of stuff, right? Most people they do one thing the whole life, like they do one thing, like you experimented, so to speak, like you discover what you want to do. I think it's great.
Yes, my motto is you never know until you try. And so if you don't like something, or at least if you do like something, and if you don't have the time for it, and what is your priority at that moment in time, you can always go back to it later.
And at least you have the knowledge of doing that, right? Like even if you never go deep sea diving again,
right?
You have the knowledge, experience. If you had that experience, right? Like no one can take away from you that day you spent deep diving in Malta, right?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. That whole week was, that whole week rewired parts of my brain that I needed.
So what's something on your bucket list you want to do but haven't done yet? Like, I don't know, like run a marathon, travel like 20,000 countries. Like what's something out there comparable deep sea diving that you want to do?
So I've ran a marathon.
Of course you have. Yeah, of course you have. Of course.
It was the International Detroit to Canada. And so it was over the bridge.
I've heard of that.
Through the tunnel. So I've done that. I, of course, would love to travel to every single country. That's no doubt in my mind. I would like to sail around. I think once the girls are older, that's almost like my retirement plan. One thing that I have on my bucket list is I want to live in France and learn. I want to go to pastry school.
Okay.
And I want to just do it for me.
So just down the block, it's a place, I can't remember the name of it. It's actually a pastry school. It's a nonprofit pastry school, right? 2 minutes from here. I'll take you there once you get over so you check it out.
Okay.
And they teach like people how to cook pastries.
Oh my goodness gracious. So I love desserts. Like, I mean, I can eat a dessert. I mean, if you see me crabby, just hand me a macaroon. It's done. So I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I would love to go check it out.
And then in college, you learned 14 programming languages?
I did.
Like, how's that even possible? Like, did you like not sleep at all? Or do you like blow off your classes? Like 14 programming languages? And you had like 5 you're really good at?
Yeah. So I ended up falling in love. I didn't know that programming, like I knew it was a thing, but I had my 5-10 year plan, right? And I took a class and it was just to learn HTML and CSS and Java, like super simple, right? And I caught it on like nothing. I mean, it was the first time, and I've had different classes that I really loved, like anthropology, critical thinking, were phenomenal classes, right? My major was accounting at the time, still ended up getting it.
I would never imagine 1,000 years that you studied accounting. That is so unlike you when I've seen so far, right? Like using accounting, no, that's like a no.
Yeah, it's crazy. I ended up getting when I graduated, I worked at Deloitte, so the largest accounting firm in the world. But I did it, and we can actually. I'll tell you that real quick. I made a business plan when I was in 4th grade. and I still have it. It has 6 cards, like a 5x6 cards, right? My business plan, it was a spa community center in New York City. I showed it to my mom. And this also explains probably how I grew up and me as a whole. My mom said, "This is beautiful. This is a great plan. But why don't you study accounting so you don't get screwed over financially?" And so I studied accounting, and then I got a job at the largest accounting firm in the world. So it's a little bit how I work.
So do you still do coding on the side to keep up with it? Or that's in the past.
No, so I love coding. I'm doing the coding for my current company right now. I've created a couple of apps for my daughter. Didn't push them out, but they were kind of her secret thing. I should have pushed them out before COVID because I'd be like sitting a little bit higher with my cash right now. But yeah, no, it's my. I don't know if I could imagine having a per se a boss with coding
Yeah.
and being like, you need to do this. And I did that for a year, but love just creating and figuring out how I can create.
So what languages do you use now?
Yeah. So this obviously HTML, CSS, Java, JavaScript, um, C Sharp, Python. I do like the Flutter, like Flutter, forgetting what's next with the package with it, but yeah, so it's Flutter language. So those are mainly what I'm using for when I do
And
things.
how do you keep it up to date with everything? I know it seems like those things change like almost daily with new updates and stuff.
Yeah, but you can always create what you want, right? I mean, it's the one thing. There's someone out there who can always probably do it faster, better, than you, but we're still creating what you're creating. And so you can always keep up to date, but there's a lot of code that's not ever going to change. So it's just depending on what you are building. Now, the processing and the different algorithms that are coming out, you can always add a package that just was released.
So how often do you spend coding each week on an average, on an estimate?
Hmm. Well, maybe 10 to 15 hours.
Okay.
Just
And you go like code 15 hours at one time, but keeping the zone, or you break it up?
Oh Lordy. Okay. If the girls weren't around, hands down, I'm the 15-hour at once coder. With the girls around, it's more so when they go to bed, and I code for a little bit and creating what I want to create.
So your girls are 5 and 1 year old, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you gonna how to put this, are you gonna try to overtly influence them to do certain things? Or you just not, are you gonna open up all possibilities and then pick what they want to do by themselves?
The only thing that I am wanting them to do is have the presence of a healer whenever they are around any. I want them to be genuinely nice and empathetic. If anything else they do, I want them to enjoy life. I was always told I needed to be the best, or I needed to have stability. And I think for my girls, I really want them to be happy.
Well, what if they're happy? What if they say they're happy? You're like, okay, how can you be happy doing this, right? Like, suppose they say I'm happy, I don't know, working McDonald's as a waitress or something like that.
Are they hurting anybody?
No.
Then I'm happy for them.
Okay.
I'm absolutely happy for them. If they are happy with what they are doing, I
Even if they don't seem like on a successful lifestyle, or like they don't,
no,
Mm.
I do not think success brings happiness. I think what the inner work does. Now, I definitely think a good amount of package of money sounds great for everyone in the world, but honestly, is it a package of money that we all need, or do we just need to make sure that we have stable housing, clean water, and good food,
Yeah.
right? And a community.
I remember reading somewhere I think $70,000 like the magic number amount, right? If you make 70,000 a year, everything's like happy. And actually, if you make more than 70,000, your happiness actually goes down.
I don't think they calculated Seattle, because $70,000 here is definitely in the poverty line.
I think it was a natural, must have been part of national after or something, you know. I remember the number 70,000.
Yeah, that's like in Nebraska.
So you have a master's in entrepreneurship from the University of Washington.
I do.
And what year did you get that?
During COVID.
So it was all online probably.
All online. Yes. The first trimester, we were really hoping, we all were like, yes, we're ready to meet in person. And then we eventually got told it was just going to be online.
So what can a school teach about being an entrepreneur? When people say you want to be an entrepreneur, you actually got to go start a business, learn the mistakes. What can a college teach you about being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So all I can say what I got out of it, right? I got the confidence, I got the support, I got the strategies. And I think that's what we can get from school. And it's always what you can get out of school, right? I didn't come from an entrepreneurship family. I came from a very stable 9 to 5. You get the degree and you work 30 years and then you retire into a house, and that's what you do. And so I wasn't surrounded by entrepreneurship people, but academia I knew. And so I think being part of a school program, it gave me what I needed to do to feel like I could start a company. And I started a company through it and it failed. And do you know how good it feels to start something and then fail it? Like, to know that since 4th grade, I've wanted to start a company. And I started it and failed it. But I still had my dog pack surrounded by me and being like, yes, awesome. Like, let's pivot or start a new something, or what do you want to do with your life? Right. And I had the tools to be able to see what I wanted to do.
Is it a 1-year program or 2-year program?
1 year.
1 year. And like, do most people I guess you start a company during the course, you go through the whole process of starting it and doing that kind of stuff? How does that work?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, so half people had their ideas and the other half just wanted to work for a startup. So I had like 27 ideas. So by the time we graduated, I had to hone in on one. And so that just depends on what you would like to do. You can help others or create your own.
So what is human-centered design? Is that the same as like UX UI design or something completely different?
No, I love this example. Human-centered design is, we have adult toothbrushes, right? And so then they just came out and they made it smaller and they gave it to kids, right? Just a smaller toothbrush. Kids were not brushing their teeth. They're like, oh, it's because they're kids, or, it's like the parents not doing it, right? Like, no. So a company came in and tested with kids and realized it was hard for them to grip the toothbrush, right? Because it was just a big one to a smaller one. And they made it like a little bit bigger on the bottom, a little bit kind of like a snowman, for them, and they could grip it, and kids were brushing longer. So that is human-centered design. We are asking the humans, okay, what is going to actually make your life not easier? Not saying, hey, this is what you need, take it. And then we're going to fault you if you're not using it.
And doesn't University of Washington have like one of the top human-centered design programs in the world? Like top notch?
Yeah. Yeah. Even their masters of entrepreneurship, they go back and forth between 1 and 2 with MIT.
Okay.
So, and same thing with their HCDE school. It's phenomenal programs.
So you had a good experience there?
My God, yes. Days I wish I was still in the program.
Oh, we all wish we were still in college. Like, go back in time, like, dummy, stay in college as long as you can. Don't go in the real world.
Yeah, I get that.
So, can you talk about your role at KPMG?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're leading the robotic process automation within text technology. On the one hand, robotics sounds sexy and innovative. And text, like, how do you combine those two together?
Oh yeah, I know. Think of my personality. Who would have thought that my main job is text and technology,
Never.
Right? Yeah.
Half of me still don't believe you.
Yeah. So I find great. Talked to a psychic the other day. Said, I'm on this world. I'm a ball of fire and Aries in every different perspective, right? And one of the things that really upsets me and that gets my ball of fire really big is inefficient processes.
I hate that shit too, right? It's like, like you've done the same way for 10 years. You know it's not right. Take the effort to improve it.
Right. I mean,
people say, "Oh, it's not my job," or "I don't have the time," or "blasey, blasey," all these excuses. Like, just take some time to improve it, and then your workload will be so much better.
Oh yeah, completely. So learn a language, make a friend, and say, "Hey, how can I make this to this?" I mean, you can even log into programs. You can start your computer, log into the programs that you need to log in, have the computer do very simple things that you need to have it do. By the time you got your coffee, came back to your desk, and then you can actually start then moving on to the next steps. And we're not doing that as humanity, and we're not supporting each other. And so, no, that's what I do.
So, how did this happen? On here it says that you reduce workflow from 120 hours to 11 seconds.
Yes.
How's that even possible? Like, what did you do?
Okay. Imagine a lot of Excel sheets. And so you have, and this happens all the time. I've done that for like several handfuls of
This
companies.
is kind of common. This is everyday work for you.
Super common.
Everyone else, some superstar stuff. Employer of the year. You're like, yeah, that's no big deal.
Super simple. So imagine you have like 1,000 Excel sheets that you have, like documents. So you have a company. So say, okay, let's do this. You have a parent company, and underneath the parent company, you have 1,000 different companies. And so every single month you're getting an Excel sheet from them, and you need to pull 3 different numbers, and you need to compare it to last year's number. And then you need to get the FIFERs, the gap, because it's international. So you need to be able to have the different regulations. And then you want to get a couple other numbers to see like how your ROI is doing, right? So that is what the process is doing. Think about when a human does it. They open the sheet, they find the Excel, and it's always the same Excel, box, right? So you open it, you look at it, and then you look at a different sheet, you look at that number, you look at a different number, and then you put it over here, right? Really all you're doing, but you have to do it 1,000 times over. So all you're doing is telling the computer, do these 4 steps. Once you make it happen a second time, you can go from 2 to 1,000. You're done. The program will do it for you.
Easy peasy. Can you talk about this? Like, it's like Excel, for example. Like any tech, Excel, Google worksheets, whatever you want to call it. Like most people only use it, maybe 1% to 2% of it can be actually a user, right? So I watched on YouTube the other day. This guy made somehow made like some kind of video presentation using just Excel, right? Like, can you talk about how people like really don't use tech as they should? All the possibilities out there.
Well, I mean, look what just became super popular in the world, right? I mean, you can I remember being so nervous to talk to, a future boyfriend, future significant other. You didn't even know how to text them, right? And now you can say, hey, this is my personality. This is their personality. These are our interactions. Can you give me a step-by-step of how I can like ask them to the movies, right? And then what should I text them? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? So the amount of technology in the world, but it's endless.
So with all this advancement in tech, do you think that we're actually getting smarter as a human race, or is the tech just advanced so fast we're like basically the same level of smartness since the beginning of time?
I don't think tech has anything to do with it. I think it's the community aspect that we don't have with humans anymore. And our IQ, I mean, what do we only access 4% or something, like something
4%, 10%. It's like,
of our brain. And we don't know, maybe there's a theory as to we are only accessing 5% because we need to excel our technology that much more. And then once our brain can do the basics, then we can even access more to our brain, right? I mean,
or maybe our brain is spent too much time using like, menial tasks, right? Like example, when I was growing up, you knew everyone's phone number.
Mhm.
I'm like, I can remember 7 dishes to save my life now, right? Because I don't need to, right? I can do different things, you know?
Yeah. And so what if your brain then wasn't using just to remember the 7-digit number, but it's using to figure out, okay, I'm going from the moon to like we discovered a new galaxy the other,
Like one gets discovered every day.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So now we're like, okay, we have a map on our head and, this, or like a glowing map. I mean, the world is endless, right? I don't think our IQ level goes down with technology, um, or even what we're doing, right? I mean, yeah, we can be smarter, but I think humans just need to learn how to also be a village and support each other. And then that way, then the creation of technology wouldn't be the doom to us.
So you also mentor like different people. What's your process for mentoring people and training people?
I love this. Love this. It depends on what I'm doing or how long I have. Um, but if I'm bringing someone on to my company, I always do a 30, 60, 90. And each that 30 date mark or around that mark, depending on where that flow is with them and how they're doing, do I see where they're at? And I've taken people who have a finance strict background. And then within the 90 days, they were my lead sustainability person, right? Because that's what they were passionate about. That's what we talked about more. That's what really got them happy. And so I think I love being able to understand people from where they are and teaching them how they need to learn, right? Like never get mad at someone because you're talking to them and then you get mad at them, but because what? You need to draw a picture for them, right? Like, so that's why I love mentoring people.
So speaking of coach in generalities, how long or how small a time does it take you to figure out if someone's gonna be a superstar? Someone like no matter how much time you spend with them, they're never gonna get it.
Well, I mean, we can all be superstars, right?
I don't know. Some people, yeah. Some people, I don't know.
Oh, I love what Einstein's quote. If you teach a fish to swim, he's never going to be able to do it, right? And so I think everyone has a piece to the puzzle, but where do we fit them? And it depends on how long they want it, but someone could have such a natural ability, but that only gets you so far, right? You have to have someone who wants it. And if you have someone that wants it, that's how you can get to stardom, right? You give them that intrinsic and that extrinsic value. If they're getting that and they want it, stardom is born. But if they're not wanting it, you can't do anything with them.
So I watched this video the other day, and like this guy was talking about this basketball player named Vince Carter, right? He was talking about how upset he was with Vince Carter because he didn't live. Like, he had all the skills. He was more skilled than Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Just naturally talented, could do everything well. But he just didn't want it like other people did. He didn't have that want to, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, he had a 20-year career, made a lot of money, but they were like, man, if you just sort of had that half the want that Kobe Bryant did, he would be like the number one player of all time. But he didn't want it.
God, I could see that with so many people in the world. And the reason as to why they don't want it or why people choose the path that they do. I mean,
You think it's just simple wiring, how we are, or like background, or like being pushed by parents, or why do some people like have it, so to speak, other people don't?
I think it's the support that they have around us and what they're told is the value of life that we have. Um, actually, I have a brother, and this is something that a lot of people don't know. And my brother passed away a little bit ago, and he was a phenomenal soccer player, one of the best in the world. But through different circumstances, he thought that money was the best thing that you needed to get in the world, right? And it took him down a bad path. So when you have different people who have just raw talents and someone who's supporting them gives them an idea like, oh yeah, you're going to be this professional soccer player. You're going to have a lot of money and you're going to have a lot of girls, right? Like their extrinsic and their intrinsic value changes, right? And like really, why are they doing it? What are they trying to prove to themselves and to others? And what makes them whole? So I think it can be a different approach for each person. And was it the egg or the chicken for him? I don't know.
Yeah, you never know what motivates people, right? I remember in junior high school, in the 7th grade, we had a guy in the 7th grade. He could run like a 100-yard dash, like 10.2, 10.3, right? He went against high schoolers. By the time he was 20, he was in prison, like 20 years for burglary and robbery stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he was around. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time in the world. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Fast money, quick, right? I mean, that's what happens. And then you get two people born out of the same circumstance. And I was phenomenal.
Yeah, and how about this? Like I've talked about this before. Like you could have like a how you would think like you would have like so you have like 4 kids in a family, right? But they all turn out differently. One might be a successful, one might go to prison. Like even though they're raised the same way, same parenting styles, 4 kids, they can turn out so many different ways. Always been amazed at that.
Well, yeah, it's the same. It's the I read something a little while ago. It's two guys, and one never drank alcohol in his entire life. And they said, "Well, why didn't you drink alcohol?" Well, because my dad's an alcoholic. And the other guy, he became an alcoholic. And I said, "Why are you an alcoholic?" He said, "Because my dad is an alcoholic."
Remember that story? Yeah.
Mhm. And I mean, yeah, we have no idea, right? But I think it is willpower. I think it's mind over matter of saying, this is the person I want to become, and what are the daily actions that I'm going to put forth to see the life that I really want to live.
And is Kate Logic still a company or the
Yeah, so that's essentially my patents sitting there.
okay?
More of an IP holder. And I get to have my creativity, so my contracts and everything.
So what does that do? What is Kate Logic?
Yeah, so it's just more of my holder of my contract. So when I'm talking or I'm creating an idea or testing out something, if I have a bunch of models, then I can write the contract with my Kate Logic company. And then if it's something that spuns out, then I am able to then just create that company wholly. It's more of
Like a holding company, so to speak? Or
yeah, it's a holding company. Okay, for my thoughts, my creative ideas, and protection.
so actually protect all your stuff. Like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and then from there, that's that's my love. That's my enjoyment. That's everyone always said it's Kate Logic when I was growing up, so that's why it's called that. Because I always thought differently.
So how long did it take to do 1,200 customer discovery reviews?
How long?
It's like a year, like a 2, 3, 4 year process. You like cram them all in like 12 days,
No, I think I did it with like 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah, you get like a bunch of people together and fill out the sheet.
And for the customer was that's a certain project you're doing, like it was like different things.
3 different projects I was doing. Yeah. So I sent out a couple. Love it when I send out my Google Forms to people and ask them questions, and they're like, "Talk about an MVP." I'm like, "Thank you." So yeah, that was 2 of them were Google Forms. Rest were just like 60 people, and we talked.
Why do you think so many startup founders skip customer discovery? So many feel like I'm gonna build a product, the world's gonna buy it, and then no one does, right? Because they don't do customer discovery. Why do you think so many people like skip that start? Because is it hard to do? Is it like too easy to do? Like, what do you think?
I first thought maybe they have a little bit of narcissism in them, you know.
Probably like 95% accurate. Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
They're like, this is what I know would work for me, so it's going to work for everyone else, right? The other thing, I think that's what's phenomenal about my program that I learned. They really honed in on customer discovery, and they're like, hey, it sounds like a great idea, but who's actually going to buy it? And so I think that's pretty good.
So, what's your process of doing customer discovery? How do you like research? How do you know what person to pick? Like, what's the whole process for you? Like, how do you know how long it's gonna be? How many questions?
Yeah.
Like in Zoom, in person, is it better? All that kind of stuff.
I first draw my ideal customer. I go through the day, I go through the year, their emotions, what do they wear, when do they wake up, and those emotions. And I try to then find people that hit several of those aspects, right? So if they're parents or if they're kids, depending on who they are. But I draw them, I want to visualize them. And then from there, I see who I know that's like that. And then I just send them a couple text messages like, hey, how's this idea? Or does this happen for you? And then from there, I will get my prototype ready and then push that out to at least 100 people.
Is there like a optimal time limit to talk to someone?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I probably should know that because I'm the type of person that just talks and could just hang out. I'm from the Midwest. We would say it's the Midwest goodbye. You say goodbye, and then like 15 days later, we've shown you our scrapbooks and all, like, yeah. So is it the time limit? I think people in Seattle, a little smaller.
Yeah. And then, so when you do this discovery interviews, how do you influence people to actually do it with you? Because like, people are busy, they're doing stuff like, see that like you send out 2 texts, you just stopped after that to get no reply. Like, how do you influence people like spend like 20, 30 minutes with you doing this?
Yeah, so I've gotten messages from people saying, this is a really long questionnaire. I'm only filling this out because I like you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for filling it out. I appreciate you. I've gotten that answer, but a lot of it's incentivization. So I've had people with me for 3 days straight, and we're just going back and forth with testing different products and seeing how they feel about it, and everything at that aspect. And from the end of it, they got all of the product that they got to touch and feel, and they felt like they were heard, right? People want to be asked questions. So if you ask them 1,000 questions, they feel like they're important, and then they get to brag about it by.
So you did 1,200 interviews over 3 projects. So that you did like, so it's like what, 400 interviews per project? Was the math correct?
Yeah, there was one of them. I probably did more of like
So
800.
why so many? Most people will say only do 5, 10, 20. Why do so many?
Well, it's funny is the one that I did around 800. It was a company I launched and failed. So it's really intriguing of, you can do the customer discovery. You can get the opinion
Yeah,
from
but
people.
what's the limit, right? What's like you did 100 interviews, or you just like in information over and over again? Like when you stop and like move to the next part, so to speak.
Oh yeah, to the next part. Yeah. So, well, through customer discovery, you do have the different segments, right? You're like, what's the pricing? What's the material? You have multiple different stages to get to that full product of saying, hey, this is what I'm selling. Would you buy it for?
So speaking of pricing, any recommendations on people like get their pricing right? I've heard like whatever you charge, you should charge at least 3 times that much because you're undervaluing yourself. But then you're like, I can't charge too much. I'm a startup. No one's gonna buy this for X amount of money yet. How do you
Yeah.
balance that?
I've heard it. People too is people are charging $400 for something that's $2, and honestly,
I mean, you want to make money, but
why?
there has to be some kind of ethics in there, right?
Yeah, and they're like,
Just like
well,
you hear all the time, like during like hurricanes, people sell, charge $100 for a bottle of water,
yeah.
something like that.
Oh, can you open this by the way?
Yeah.
Thank you. I messed up my thumb. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and they say it's prestige, right? Like, oh, it's this phenomenal. It's a phenomenal. You get to feel fancier. It's being sold to the richer people of Seattle. Like,
What this t-shirt's $5, but if you put, some fancy name on it, it's a $500.
yeah, I mean, that sounds really not the type of aspect I would like to go on in this world. So for my pricing, I try to see what do I need to be able to survive on for the year. How do I get my basic needs met? How do I get my team? How do I get their basic needs met? And I have the product. And then what can I grow from there? And I don't want to overcharge right now. I mean, my prototype, if I pushed it out at the price that it's at right now, I'd be losing $50. But I want to get to that price because I want it to be more accessible to everyone. And so, if I end up making $10 or $15 on each product, I think it's then my job to make more surrounding opportunities around it, right? Don't think, especially if you're having a product that is helping people, rich people are not the only people who need help.
So what's a good process for someone to build out the MVP? Like how advanced your MVP should be, like an MVP minus. Should I have all the bells and whistles? Like what actually in your mind is an MVP?
Well, it's interesting. I've gone multiple different directions. I showcased my product a couple months ago and it had 3 different versions, right? But it didn't have everything in one item together because I'm like, well, like that would cost a lot of money right now. And so I just want to see what people are liking on those different aspects. So you can do something like that. The next one that we're going to be putting out, it is most of those things combined. The one after that is going to be all the bells and whistles and more, because that's the one that then we're going to finally have to hone down on every single thing that we need for the final product. So I think when getting the MVP, if you can make it sustainable and accessible, it's good to have all the bells and whistles because then you can cut things off if you need it. But like they can be duct taped bells and whistles, you know, if that makes sense.
So how do you decide this? Like you're talking about people being narcissists, right? Suppose you have like my product should have like X, right? And you like do interview 10 people, all those 10 people say, I don't know, like 8 of 10 say, I don't know about this X thing, right? You should take it off. But in your mind, like this is like you should have it on there. How do you like have enough how do you be humble enough to say, okay, I need to listen to my customers to take this thing off versus okay, I know in my mind I should have this here. It's been part of my, core vision forever. Like how do you like be humble enough? That's the right word to do that,
You have to listen to the customer. I mean, if it's the product you're building for them, you don't have to be humble, I guess, as a person when you're like when you're successful. I mean, but you still need to be humble. So that's then they should probably work on that. Yeah, I mean, I think it is working through the insecurities that you have in yourself to say, hey, I've had this amazing idea. It hasn't worked, but my team and my customers have told me it shouldn't be on there. How much does it cost to keep it on there and my pride? Or does it save me money and it's still a really good product and it doesn't have to be on there?
And so the K Logic you've like gained over $200,000 by like doing research and development. Like what kind of research, what kind of development is like $200,000 over the lifetime of K Logic, one time payment, different companies?
Yeah, so it's been different companies, different research. A lot of it's more geared towards like kids and how to help kids. A lot of it's trauma healing focused. And then some of it was some lingerie. So, you know.
What's been your most fun research project you've done? Maybe not most fun, but like most spoken for, like most enhancing, most fulfilling thing you've done.
Okay, so those are 2 very different answers. The most fun was this relationship app I did. That was just talking to people about their relationship, how they felt, their personalities, their partner's personalities. That was a lot. Like I love love. The most fulfilling is what I'm working on right now, and helping kids and trying to find the best way to help them is why I'm here. I think it's really it's what I'm supposed to be doing this lifetime around.
So changing the subject a little bit, you just did a trip to New York City. I saw you post on Instagram. You're like so happy there, like the stuff you're doing. Can you talk about the trip, or what you did there, and all the fun you had?
Oh my goodness gracious. New York City is my favorite city in the world. It always will be, always has been. My heart is in New York City. And I went for a bachelorette party. Like, literally it was so cool. I've known her since middle school. I got to see her friends. I got to see her sister. And it's just really cool experience. And so I got in. It was just 24 hours. I needed to make sure I wasn't gone that long away from my babies. And so flew in. We went and got, of course, the New York City bagel. We went to Times Square. We did Central Park. we were in the middle of a parade. I mean, we did the New York things, right? We went to a Broadway show. We ate Indian at 2 a.m. Yeah, like we did the things that you do in New York, um, which is great.
Had a great time,
Blessing.
huh?
Blessing. Absolute blessing.
Nice. And then talk about what you do with something called Autism Speaks.
Yes. So I used to volunteer with them for a couple of years, and then they closed down the program. And I worked with a senator and finding different initiatives for kids with autism.
And are you still involved with them?
No, because they closed down the
You did?
program.
Okay, yeah. And so you still do stuff with autism, as far as like different nonprofits or just personal?
Yeah. So everything that I've learned in the past, my daughter was diagnosed a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. So through all the research, I got certifications with autism, being a caregiver for an autistic child. Learned the benefits and that are surrounded through autism, and that is also a path that I think led me on to being able to create.
So what is
VirWave.
autism?
Autism is just the way, they don't think.
Think differently? Or
Being inside of her world, I mean, it's a blessing, absolute blessing. I mean, all is just we all think a little bit differently, right? And sometimes she needs a little bit more help, but I mean, we all do.
is it like is it genetically passed on from generation to generation, or like how's that work?
If you were to ask my current husband, he would say yes, and it comes from my side. My mom became a mechanical engineer before it was popular for women to be MEs. Everything is a perfect puzzle for me. I've of course even Kate Logic, right? I think outside of the box. I always have. I always will. I'm give me, hey, how do you get from here to here? And I will think of all of the different ways. And so, yeah, I mean, we don't really know where it comes from. Chicken and the egg, right?
And so like how does like someone like is that like how do they get diagnosed? Like does the parents say my kid's not acting right? They think the autism test is like a test they take every year automatically. Like how does someone I don't remember taking my kid saying, hey, go get an autism test, right? How
Yeah.
does that come about?
So they actually have you fill it out. Not exactly the name. It's like something chat. But when you go to the doctor just for your pediatric visits, so they set you up and they just ask you questions, out of these like 12, are they like hitting those? And so they give you that answer. So my daughter went, I'm pretty sure it's 12. But I know that by the time she did it when she was 2 years old, she was only answering 4 of them. So she was, she spoke 40 words and then she stopped. And throughout that process, then she different stimming. But I had her in speech therapy because she wasn't, she only said mama. And so we had her in speech therapy, and then they said, hey, check out a visual, like a visual calendar, right? So I looked it up on Pinterest, and it always was tagged with autism. And so we went the next time and I said, hey, she's low on this chart. You guys want me to do a visual calendar, like a visual schedule, right? And it's saying autism. And they're like, yes. How do you feel about that? And I'm like, doesn't change my kid, still my kid. And they're like, okay, well, then we think she should get tested. So it was actually her speech therapist who suggested it. And then I went to the pediatrician and they then did the test again just to make sure that nothing changed within like a couple months. And they also.
And once you get diagnosed with autism, you ever get rid of it, or it's like it's with you the rest of your life?
It's always with you.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have high functioning. There's like 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. 3, you need more support. 2, you need less. And then 1, more high functioning.
Do you happen to know what percentage of the population has it?
No, but they are saying right now that 1 in 4 are being diagnosed with autism.
And you think that's because more people getting tested for it, or
I think that is because 15 years ago, they decided to start testing women with autism. And the characteristics that they found for women and men are different for autism.
interesting?
Yes. And so, girls, they're like, oh, well, it's a shy girl. She likes ballet. She likes gymnastics. Right. So she's shy. So one of the characteristics, she doesn't want to be around people. She wants to be by herself. Right. She's,
That's a lot of introverts right there.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, it is. But is it, and where is it setting, right? It's not just one category and it's off, right? But, women we're always in ballet, right? We're on our tippy toes all the time. That's another characteristic. The wanting to be on a balance beam and move around or rock climbing, that's a characteristic. And they're learning, like, when you're saying, oh, or like even girls are taught to mask their behavior, right? If you meet a girl and she's just like, hi, because she feels like that's what she should do in that setting, right? And then that's masking, but women do that. And so I think more people are being diagnosed now because they're hitting half of the population, which they weren't hitting before.
You talk about the different levels. How do you go from like one level to different level? Just like you have to take medicine, like training, like how does someone like go from like a higher level to a low level? Or is that even possible?
Yeah. My daughter went from a 2+ to a 1. She's high functioning. And a lot of there's different theories surrounded by it. She doesn't take medicine. She doesn't care about consistency besides if I'm there with her. But what she does need is she needs like a sensory swing. She needs to be like swung around all the time. And that is different than her behavior will change. And so that can help. I mean, I still think she will always have her 2+ diagnosis. It's just now we've learned things that she needs in her daily life to make life easier for her.
And is your daughter in kindergarten already or school? Or
Yeah, she's in kindergarten.
so how does it work? Like in school, like do you have to tell? Are you supposed to tell the school district, hey, my daughter has autism? And they treat them differently? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so she's set up with an IEP, and so any kid with a diagnosis is set up with an IEP,
And
and
they'll go to like there's no such thing like this school has 30 autism kids all in one class, right? They're like spread out throughout the school population.
so it actually in different school districts. So I think it was the 80s, Bellevue, like Lake Washington school district was the first to implement atypical and typical kids together because they learned that the atypical kids grew in like academia where typical. So yeah, that was the atypical. And then the typical kids gained more empathy by being together.
Yeah, I could definitely see the pros and cons of doing both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you put it all together, the pros like they're with their same type of people, they're not different. They learn, but then again, if you put them, the con is like they don't know how to deal with society, right? Because they get in a society like everyone's, oh my god,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's what's phenomenal about integration, and then having someone come in for 20 minutes or being taken out for 20 minutes, right? My daughter does not feel different. No kid should ever feel like they are excluded from other kids that are their age at all, ever. When you do, you start putting them in this box and they're going to be that person you tell them to be. And so when you have them together, they get to be together. And those kids, right? We didn't grow up this way, right? We grew up to ask questions. Or not even ask questions. Disability was when she got her diagnosis, it was the first time I entered into the disability world. Why was that the first time I was entered into the disability world? Because that is what's wrong. We all think differently. We all do not take perfect tests. We don't, right? We learn differently. We experience life differently. And so saying that, oh, because this kid is having a difficult time learning English and you're going to take them out. I mean, or if this kid needs to be on a seat that wobbles, put a seat that wobbles in the classroom, right? Like, do they need to be in a swing? And does it disturb another kid if the other person, if it disturbs a kid or an adult, that a kid is happy in a swing and they can actually study better and they can learn better, you can teach that kid empathy, right? I mean, saying, hey, like, yes. Or, I mean, it could be distracting because the movements, I get the movements, right? But I'm talking about a sensory swing, so I wouldn't be moving too much, right? Just it kind of like hugs them. But yeah, no, I'm very extremely passionate that we should.
So no, each kid probably needs their own personal needs, right? But economically, how does the school district pay for that, right? I mean, how's the school district like actually like pay money to all these different needs and stuff, right?
I
You think it's something that we need to pay for. Societies need to figure out a way how to do it.
I think every kid should have an IEP.
What's the IEP?
It's why am I forgetting the first name? Individualized education plan. And I think every kid should have an IEP. I think every kid has pluses and minuses that they do well in every single curriculum at every point in time of their life. We have no idea what's going on in their home. We have no idea what's going on in their mind. But if we can help them and we have an individualized plan that works with their strengths and we can excel their strengths, right? That's what we need. I mean, we need to invest in our kids. As a society, we need to invest in mothers and we need to invest in kids because that's what makes our society. And so taking away like, yeah, need to be a working mom. Like, great, I'm an awesome working mom, but I cannot do it all. No one can, right? And kids need support. And so we're all in our individualized houses, all like being able to multitask on, the TV and our phone and our kid all at the same time, right? We have enough money out there. Why are we just not supporting the children?
I talk about supporting like you don't know what's going on at home, like example I use, if someone in the 9th grade is struggling with algebra and their mother is a single mother who like dropped out of high school, like how's he gonna help them, right?
Yeah.
Probably not versus someone who's like struggling in algebra and their two parents are math teachers in college, like I'm sure it's life, but no, the way it's not fair, right? And how do you balance that out?
Right. And so, that kid's not dumb and that mom is not dumb. Right. And so why, like, don't pity them, support them, support them in the school, support them at home. Like, don't give that kid a less opportunity in the world just because, and she might be really good at English, right? We have no idea what her strengths are and we don't know what his strengths are. Like, he might be bad. Like, they could both be really good at English.
So like I consider myself a capitalist, right? But one thing I always thought was unfair or not right is like if you have a rich school district, right? The schools get paid off property tax. You have a rich school district, the property tax gives them all this advantage, right? For poor economic neighborhood, their property tax is like nothing and they have no resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always thought there'd be some kind of way to fix that, right? Like, I mean, I'm against socialism. I don't think it's like, I don't know how you fix that, right? Like, but to me, it's like inherently unfair, like, because this rich neighborhood, there's a bunch of millionaires, houses worth $500,000. They get better education than people in the other neighborhood, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love capitalism. I get it. But why do we struggle with housing and food and water? Like, an internet, right? I mean, you can go to different countries and they have internet for the whole country and there you go, it's done.
Like, best you go to Asia, like I came from Vietnam. I've been in Korea for 3 years.
Yeah.
The internet makes us look like AOL, like we're still in AOL. It's like ridiculous. It's like, and it's not, it's like, and everyone has it. From the poorest person to the richest billionaire, they have the same internet. And it's so fast. And we like AOL over here still. We don't realize it.
Yeah.
And then that's if you're in Seattle, San Francisco, you have a decent internet. But if you live like, like Farmville, Kansas, biggest city 20, 30 miles away, you better hope you have HughesNet or OpenLink or something.
Yeah, and like beep 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 or whatever that sound is. No, it's true. So the fact that we don't even have internet, or if someone's struggling for housing, I mean that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Or the quality of water someone is drinking, and then they have to go and study the same material. They have the same tests that they have to take.
Yeah.
And they're I come from Michigan. Their water, like the toxicity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how are those kids ever going to get higher test scores
No.
than the kids in Oakland County, which it used to be like richest county in America?
I think what makes it worse, like you take somebody from, we'll say, a rich school district, right?
Mhm.
They have all the private techs, and then the parents are still like give money, donate money, different things. Where you coming from like economic disadvantaged background, those parents have no money to donate.
Yeah.
It makes it even worse.
Well, but think about middle class, right? So middle class, you're still in a society and you're still trying to supplement, and things are being taken away from you. I mean, you got all the money in the world. Of course, that's why we're capitalists, right? Like we want to be able to have the things that was difficult to see, right? I mean, but everyone needs that. And you could have asked me 15 years ago and I would have gave you a completely different answer. But I've lived both.
Yeah.
Lived all three. Everyone should just have housing and clean water.
Yeah. Yeah. It drives me crazy, like, the Michigan thing. It's like going on for years, right? Couldn't fix the water. And then I think Jackson, Mississippi a couple years ago, the water was no water at all in Jackson, Mississippi. Something happened there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Deion Sanders was the coach there, and his players actually had to, like shower and like take baths in the swimming pool water because the water didn't work or something crazy like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could totally see that. And then I remember growing up, my mom had to put dye in the bath so I didn't get weirded out that the water was a different color. I mean, why?
And so from 7th grade to high school, I lived in a town called Odessa, Texas, in West Texas, like oil country.
Okay.
And living there, like the water's not clear. It's kind of like brownish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like when you're there, you don't really know it's right. It's like drinking whatever. When you leave and come back, like, how in the world did I drink this, right? If you come back, it's like almost like this color, this bourbon, right? The taste is horrible.
Yeah.
And like everyone's teeth all jacked up. The stuff in the water, you roast their teeth and it turns them brown.
Yeah.
When you're there, it's normal, right? And then you leave and come back, oh my God, like this is horrible, right?
Do you get in that water again if you've been gone away?
So there's a lawsuit, a lot of lawsuits for like people suing the like oil companies and petrochemical companies because of that, right? Of course, the number one, because like nonprofits try to sue and like they have a little rich lawyers and stuff. But then again, oil field pays good money, right? So
hey, but it's clean water. It's a kid's mom. So many different people have been affected just because. I mean, look at right now. How many degrees of ocean water should there be?
I know, right? Yeah, and amazing. Like Flint, Michigan, it took so long to fix that. I don't think it's still fixed, right? Like this.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we just stopped talking about it. And Flint has a lot of interesting. I mean, right? I study kids and trauma, and so they're like 1 in 4 our kids are being abused there. And you wonder, it's like, well, what's the water that's been in these people's brains, right? And
I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast today. He's talking to Sam Altman, and Joe Rogan was talking about where like each week we eat, for all the plastic we eat, we put a credit card of plastic in our body every week. They were filmed on the screen, right? I mean, over a lifetime, that's a lot of plastic.
Oh yeah, I mean we're starting to become plastic, right? Which is, I was watching like supposed to be the happiest places in the world, right? And it's on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, and they go through these different countries. Like, yes, they're super happy, and they talk to the older people. They have the centurions, right? They're all over 100. And I think it's 4 or 5 different locations. I watched 3 of them, but each segment, the younger kids had plastic little containers of food that they were eating out of. Yeah. I mean, you talk to the older people and they were like, yes, like if someone was running out of money, like, they had a group of people. You had your village, you had a group of people. And if someone had, like, if they lost their job for a period, You would help them find a job, but you would also help pay for things, right? And then they would do it back for you. It was this community, right? And no one took advantage of it because they made sure you also didn't take advantage of it, right? You just supported each other and getting a job and supporting like the entire family. And they talked about the healthy food that they're eating, right? And then you literally see a Coke bottle next to, a 20-year-old. I mean, those cultures, they might be 105 now, but what are they going to be 95 years from now? I mean, how much plastic have we destroyed?
Yeah, like what's the cost going to be in the future for convenience, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, and that's crazy about my love of efficiency but how much I love hand washing my clothes. Right? I mean, just the joy of taking care of the clothes that I have. It's not efficient. I mean, I can't do that. I can't just put them in the sun and dry them. But and when Amy has her Ultropia come out, like, yes, I will totally, buy it. That sounds cool. But the joy of the inefficiency of just taking care of the clothes that I wear that cover my body and the food that I take care of and being slow with that and enjoy it.
I mean, there's something to be said, like go to like a farmer's market every day, get the fruit, vegetables, and meat, and go home and cook it versus like, mass producing everything.
Oh yeah. There's no reason why everyone needs to have access towards every single Fruit Loop.
Yeah. Do you really need like 20 options of Gatorade or 20 options of cereal or 20 options of this,
And from 6 different companies, because you got Gatorade, then you got off brand and that. Yeah. I mean, why is that? Why are we doing that to ourselves? Why are we doing that to our kids?
And then like, of course you're in Seattle, we should have access to that good seafood, right? But if you're in Omaha, Nebraska, do you really have a right to have like fresh crab legs, I don't know.
And I wonder if we could set it up like you don't have to have access to crab legs every single day, right? But if Nebraska, why not give the opportunity? But let's have like crab leg season, right? Like, why do we need strawberries every single day? Yeah. We only need strawberries during strawberry season.
And don't dare to go to a restaurant that don't have strawberries for you.
Right. Yeah.
How dare they?
Yeah. I mean, so why are they taste better if you get them in season and where they're from. So why are we doing that to ourselves? We're teaching ourselves to deal with, water tasting strawberries because we're like, well, we need strawberries in January. Like, do you really?
You don't. There's another fruit you can use in January or something else, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get maybe bananas. We can I don't know. There's enough selection that we can figure out how to mass produce a couple items and then seasonally push out the others.
You really need like, import fruit from like our own Russia or Germany or some, I get it from Mexico, Canada, but you really need like, I don't know, bananas from Vietnam, something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we could figure out like an efficient process of like where are the bananas coming from and how many are being pushed out, like, yes, it doesn't make sense.
One thing people don't talk about or don't realize, visitors don't travel to the United States, much better the food tastes overseas. Like I came from Vietnam, it is so much better. You taste the freshness. Whatever that taste is, you taste it overseas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every country I've been in, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Korea, Vietnam, whatever country, the food tastes so much better over here.
Oh, so let me tell you this. I'm anaphylactic to a couple of fruits in the United States. I can eat the same fruit in Europe. I am not anaphylactic and I can actually eat it. And why? Right? Like that's weird. I mean, so it tastes better and I can
it looks better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm good with ugly fruit, right? I'm good with something ugly, but they also they prepare it in a way that they can take ugly fruit instead of giving me like a plastic waxed apple, right? Instead of doing that.
There's a reason your apple looks so red, right? Doesn't come off the tree like that, or whatever comes off doesn't come off like that.
They don't. And it's like, okay, well, it might be not the super sexiest of appealing, but I mean, you can make apple pie with an older looking apple, but it's going to taste better. I mean, that's the best way to make banana bread is old bananas. And so getting that fruit and utilizing every single piece of it. And that's what they do other places. I mean, that's why Costco is not in every single country. And it shocks Americans when they're like, wow, yeah, we're not actually everywhere.
Also overseas, they actually enjoy eating way more than we do. Like we're like most Americans go to the drive-through, get a meal, eat in the car, like it's rush, rush, rush.
Oh yeah.
Like in Vietnam, like we would like sit down, like even you got street food, right? You sat down, you ate, had a conversation, you enjoyed your food, and you moved on, right?
Wow. That is such a thought process. I mean, snack bars, protein bars, how many people are making money just by selling protein drinks? Just because you can drink it in the car on the way to work, right? I mean, wow, that's fascinating to say, let's sit down for every meal and let's ask each other questions.
Yep. It was amazing.
Think about the quality of life, the depression rates, the marriage rates, or the divorce, right? Like the kids, wow. Just to be there, present.
Yeah, we're not present in anything in America, I don't think.
Oh, that's quality time. Quality time. People need that.
So next, talk about something called ABA therapy.
ABA therapy. I can't go too much in detail. Not an ABA therapist, but my daughter did about 12 weeks of an intensive program. It's a different type of autism therapy. Some people believe in it, some people don't. And it can help, but it also leads to some masking for some kids. So they learn how to fit in society. And then some kids, it doesn't work at all. I do, with my experience, it helped her grow, but there's a lot of therapy and ways I've tried to teach her she doesn't have to mask. She doesn't have to act happy in front of someone if she's not happy. She needs to stand up for herself.
Okay. So tell me a secret. You have a full-time job, which seems pretty demanding. Parenting 2 young girls is pretty demanding. You're doing your startup stuff. You're doing all these things. Each one could be a full-time job, right? How in the world do you do it, right? Like, are you sleeping like 2 hours a day? You have an AI robot somewhere doing stuff for you? You have a nanny, or like, how do you do all this?
I don't. No one does. No, nobody ever does. Every single day, you have to pick and choose what you do. And so every day, I am not doing everything. And I think a couple of years ago, I could have been said, okay, when my daughter's napping, I'm doing work, and then I'm doing the other work. And I don't watch TV that much. And so I get to insert where people are watching TV, and I get to insert there. During COVID, I didn't have a social life. So it was easy to have, to create a business because it got you an excuse to talk to other humans. Right. But this day and age, I feel like I'm doing it all, but I'm selecting what I am doing and when I am doing.
So you're not doing everything every day, excelling at everything every day. You pick and choose, prioritize, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so how do you decide what to prioritize from day to day?
First and foremost, my kids are my priority. If my girls need my attention, if they need my attention and I can give them my attention, I have to do that. Because once they got my attention and they've craved it, they've got quality time, we've baked some brownies together, then she's like, oh, okay, go and work. Or my 1 year is like, okay, I'm going to go play with someone else. Like, I got my mommy time, right? So that's always a priority. And I think having that I'm missing the word. It's not an intention. Like, it's having that intention with them. So that's what I've tried doing with my girls, is having that something that we are doing during that time and being really excited about it. So is it eating a bunch of ice cream and combining that with my friends and their kids and saying, let's go run, let's do a pumpkin patch, let's go to a concert together. We can do that together. I've told a story to my daughter for 3 years now. And we are now creating a book together. She's drawing the photos, she's giving me the topics, and I'm just adding a couple words to it, right? So we get to then do that together and have that creative aspect. When it comes to my day job,
Your day job is like typical 9 to 5, 40, 50 hours a week.
no, but I've also had leave with my day job. I've had a couple of leaves. And so during my leaves, I'm able to concentrate on my kids more. When my day job is working, I could work up to like 80 hours a week. It can get pretty intensive. Um,
Yeah, I've always admired people like you, like have a full-time job, like, it's not like you have some, I'll say a bullshit job, right? Working 9 to 5, doing some bullshit, right? You
mm,
actually have a real job that people depend on you, right? Like I said, 46 hours a week, 80 hours a week sometimes. Always admire people like you have that and still doing a startup, you know? Like I have a startup, I can barely do a startup by myself, right? You can imagine working an actual job, right? So I always admire people like you. I know people like you are doing that, right? Pulling it off.
yeah. Yeah. And how much are we pulling it off? I think that becomes like, what have I sacrificed in different areas, or how slow has a startup
'Cause
started?
everything has a price, right?
Exactly.
Everything has a price.
Yeah. And so it becomes that choice of, what do I choose and when do I choose it? And even the startup that I'm currently working on, it's not even been pushed out yet. And it is because of my main job. I've focused on my main job for a while. And so it's my startup, it's my passion, it's what I think about. But it's what's helping me process the stressors in my life. And I need that.
So I'm gonna guess that your job, you're not getting paid minimum wage. You're getting paid a good, decent salary, right? What's the decision making process? What has to happen to your startup to say, okay, I can go all into my startup. I have enough metrics and extraction. I have enough something to quit my day job. What's that decision like?
Mm, I think when I can leave my day job without burning bridges. It doesn't matter how much money I make, but I don't want to leave the people behind if I don't have to. So I don't think it's money that particularly matters. It needs to be timing. That's right.
Okay. And then, what is social network?
Social network. Well, that's something I worked on for a while. Think of like a dating app. You need people for it to work. Um, you need the whole idea is that other people to date someone, you need more than 5 options, 2 options, right? So you need more aspects on it.
So, what exactly is trauma? Like, how do you even define that? How do you determine what it is? I'm guessing trauma could be different to different people, right?
Yeah, I think, and trauma has different levels. I mean, there's a difference between someone who's been to war or just has war at home, um, and what I think it's when you are rewired. I think that is, yeah, that would be for me. Seeing someone, if you see someone on a Tuesday and they see them on a Friday, and something has happened during those days, and they are different, they've been rewired. And if they've gone through what they would say is trauma,
And why do you think people respond to trauma differently? Like some people like it destroys them. Other people actually like I won't say thrive on trauma, like actually like more resilient, so to speak, right?
I think it destroys us. It destroys the past. You grieve who you were. You grieve the thoughts you had before. But you pick yourself up. Um, Forgot who said it. Was an old football coach. My dad always said this. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down. It matters how many times you pick yourself up. And I think that one second can change your life. And depending on how you want to do that, I've fallen to pieces. So many people have fallen to pieces. Wait, I mean, how many adults say they've cried in a bathroom? Probably a lot, right? And to fully admit to say that and say, okay, I want to laugh in the bathroom, right? I want to laugh with people. think that's the will.
So I found the stat, I think on your LinkedIn or website or somewhere. The stat is, and to me, this is like very disappointing, very disturbing.
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah, 97% of kids report they've been abused, but only 4% believe. And that is like blew me away. Like, how is it even possible, right? Now, don't get me wrong, like, I'm sure some kids make some stuff up, they're like little evil monsters. Some kids are right. But 97% or 4% believe I don't know. That's incredible. That's so disappointing.
You can see my eyes
Yeah.
water. It's the most heartbreaking thing in the world because that's when someone cannot get through trauma, right? When you have support around you, when you have people that listen to you.
And do you think it's because, they'll say like a family member or a close friend, hey, Uncle Tommy did this to me. Oh, no, Uncle Tommy didn't. Or, your friend John did this to me. No, he didn't, right? You think that plays into it too? Like is used like a member, close friend, or close family member who gets accused of stuff versus like some random stranger. If they're probably a random stranger, they would probably leave them right 100% of the time because it's a close person. They're like, oh, you're telling a fib.
It's most of the time it's someone who's close to them. It's either the family or it's either the immediate family or secondary or a close friend. And it is heartbreaking. And it depends on who's willing to stand up for that kid and to be a voice for them. And are they taught that they can have a voice, or are they taught no one's going to listen to them and no one's going to believe? So where does it come from? And if you get a kid who's gone through trauma and told someone, and then 15 years later, they go through another trauma, how do they know how to get through that? Because last time they asked for help and they didn't get it.
And of course, not going to trust anyone. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything because this happened in the past.
Yeah. Or they think it's okay. They think they deserve it. So then they just
That's the worst thing ever. People think they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
It's my fault because whatever.
Yeah.
So I wrote this down. I have no idea what I did. I wrote down mindfulness and holistic well-being.
Mindfulness
And holistic well-being.
and holistic well-being. Yes. I could see that probably after you read VirWave. That's where the stat was from.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to give tools to kids to be able to be. I mean, at least that's what I would get from that statement. That's what we're all trying to be as adults. We have plenty of tools, but what do kids have? They're supposed to have us.
So, like, there's like, if you buy a car, there's a manual. Buy a refrigerator, there's a manual. Everything about a manual. If you have a kid, there's no manual. Should there be a type of manual somewhere? Of course, some people, your manual is like your parents, your grandparents, the family. Of course, all families aren't the same, right? There's a lot of messed up families out there, right? So there should be like some kind of man. Oh, hey, Mr. and Mrs. John Smith, you're having a baby. You got to take this course to get certified to be a parent. Like, well, it's like even, hey, you can't have sex until you take this course, right? Of course, that would never happen, but should that happen?
My opinion. Oof. When I brought my first daughter home from school, I'm like, why are you giving me her? Like, what? I don't know how to do this. And they're like, you are the one that's going to give her the most love. You will, and you can make the best choices. Okay. Sounds good. Got this. And then, in a different period of my life, I was going through therapy about my mom, right? Phenomenal mom. But I was told every parent gets, a deck of cards. And at some point in life, sometimes they don't have the full, and then they get, a hand at a time. And sometimes they have a full hand. Sometimes they only have one card that they're working with. And you have to see where they're at and understand that they're human. And so I get that. Again, I'm about support. We might need manuals. Manuals sounds great, but I parent differently than my best friend.
Yeah.
And so how do you get that manual of how you're supposed to treat your kid? Oh, maybe adults need more manuals.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I'm sure like whenever your kids come to you and say, hey, mommy, I want to do this, remember what they want to do, you're happy. But what's something when they come to you and say, I want to do this, you're like, yes. Like something you really enjoy doing with your kids. Like, okay, they ask you to do this, like, you're like, you really like doing this.
I love making pancakes.
Pancakes, okay.
hmm
You make a little small, like star pancakes or big pancakes.
I make like 100 pancakes at a time. Uh, and we have fun just putting everything in the ingredient. I love that because she's able to control that. And she does a really good job. So I taught her how to do eggs, everything like that. Snuggles. Always do snuggles. Always down for that. Yeah, she wants to tell me a story. I, I love it when she just wants to.
Spend time with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what's advice you can give to an entrepreneur out there? Whether like they're starting an idea, have this idea, what's advice that I can give entrepreneur?
Be an entrepreneur. If when you're holding on, if it helps give your life, like if you have fun with it, right? If you're having a hard time creating a business, I mean, the first stages, it should be fun, right? Like you shouldn't have to have a meaning of, okay, I want to make a lot, right? I mean, for an entrepreneur, I say, what is there in the world that could truly be better? Like, how can you truly benefit thousands of people or even one, right? But how can you benefit them? Don't think about the money. Think about how you can actually help society.
And from your point of view, what are some pros and cons of being an entrepreneur?
The stability of money is a con. Hands down. You laugh, you know that. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to not be able to figure out how much is a cucumber in Seattle right now. You know what? Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a con. The pro, I think a pro and a con is that I'm making the decisions. It's fun being able to have the control, but damn, do I really have to make all the decisions?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I can feel that.
So, are certain people more predisposed to be entrepreneur versus other people?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think people who want control, who are creative, who can think outside of the box.
I always joke around that, like, if you're an entrepreneur, you should have to take some kind of mental health test first, right? Because, like, there's something that has to be mentally wrong with us, right? That want to do this.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Question my mom all the time. Like, why are you doing that? Like, why would you spend time why are you spending money on a company that can fail? Like, yes, I get that.
And for your current startup, it's only you work on it, right?
No. So my stepdad is actually working on it with me. And I've had a couple friends I've taken small parts with it. So I have a small team.
Okay. And how long have you been working on it?
Been working on it since April.
April, so pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's actually like a meditation stuffed toy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so lots of questions like the stuffed toy, where's it gonna be made at?
Where is it going to be made at?
Or where's it being made? Or where is it being made at?
It's being made at depends where I am. If I'm driving, it's being made in my car. It's being made in Seattle. There's parts of it in Michigan right now.
So is the master plan what you had to like produce like thousands at a time to get a factory in China to do it, to a factory here, like outsource it?
That's a large question I need to answer in 6 months. My goal is to be able to partner with Goodwills and Salvation Armies to be able to get the fabric. So that's what I want to be able to do. I would love to be able to have my own facility.
And the stuffed animal, is it like a tiger, a bear, elephant? Is it going to change every time?
It can change every single time. So what's cool about it is that the box can come out and then be put into a different animal. So if one day your kid is really into unicorns, the UI will be unicorns. If the next day they're into bears, but you still want them to meditate, why do you need to keep buying more technology, right? So you can take the unicorn aspect off of it and then put in, what did I say? A horse or something. So you can just, a bear. So then you can just put the bear stuffed animal over the box, and
So
the UI changes.
so how does it actually work? Just like you put something in a stuffed animal, like how does that work?
Yeah. So think of like a smashed egg down. We'll have a prototype for about last week I said 2 weeks, so we should be about a week away. So think of like a smashed egg. It has a screen inside of it, and that's a 3D print. And then you have the screen, and so that screen can teach kids then how to meditate. And then there's aspects to the stuffed animal that help.
I know on the website it says for kids 3 to 8. Like, how did that come out 3 to 8? Like, you did scientific research. It's like it was recommended to you. Why 3 to 8? Why not 8 to 14 or 20 to 27? Why 3 to 8? Why that specific age group?
I specifically chose that. Kids at 8 years old are recommended that they can start learning meditation. So between 8 and 10 is usually when they start. So I was kind of gearing towards 3 to 7. But if you can teach a nonverbal 3-year-old to meditate, then you can teach an adult to meditate. And so that is what I'm gearing towards.
So how are you going to influence or convince parents that their 4-year-old needs to meditate?
So we go to the soccer game yesterday, right? Got to see Megan's last game. Phenomenal opportunity, right? My daughter, she's 5. She has PTSD. She has autism. 2 years ago, I was never going to be able to take her to a sporting event. She wouldn't have been able to handle it. I tried like UW, and we went for about 15 minutes. It was too loud. We left. Last night, my daughter was very overstimulated, and she meditated herself to sleep in the middle of the game. You can convince a parent that they can go out, they can have fun, they can teach their kid to experience life. And then their kid can learn how to meditate when they're overstimulated.
What's the advantage of a kid that he's learning to meditate?
The advantage? There's different aspects in the traditional parenting, right? If you can teach your kid to meditate, they're uncomfortable and they get to learn how to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, right? So if, their younger siblings getting more attention than they are, or if they're not getting to play with Paw Patrol and they want to play with Paw Patrol, right? What a kid with trauma who has no parents, no support system, what you are teaching them when they learn how to meditate is this coping skill to make the right decision. You're teaching them that a second can change their life from being in prison for the rest of their life, or saying no and maybe going to college. 1 second can change their life. So if you can teach a kid who has trauma, who has no support, that tool to be able to take a breath, you give them a voice. You're literally handing the voiceless a voice when you are doing that for them. And I think that's.
So Amy put in the chat that you're amazing.
I am. Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
So I'm sure you've talked about this, but I think one demographic that would really use this.
Can I say I love you, Amy?
So I think one demographic, I'm sure you've thought about this, like foster kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be amazing for foster kids.
Yeah, definitely. The foster kids who go through forensic interviews. So the ones that are a forensic interview, I talked to a forensic interviewer she's a psychologist. She did it for 7 years. Out of 7 years, 4 kids found justice. 4. I mean, so you think of all the foster kids who are thinking, hey, I might have hope if I talk to this person, and the judicial system messes with them. How do they filter life?
And then I couldn't imagine being a foster kid, you're 14 years old, you've been turned down 30 families, 40 families. This has to just destroy your psyche, I would think, right?
Yeah. How do you trust? How do you think that you're worthy of life? How do you think you're worthy of human interaction? And how do you get people to trust you?
And then another problem society needs to fix, I think, is you're no one adopts you or whatever. So you're 18, and this might be true. I just think it is, right? You're 18. They're pretty much okay. You're out of the foster system, right? Where do you go? You have no family. Hopefully you have job skills. I don't
Right.
know. It's
And what happens if you have a baby? I mean, the type of support that you have, And most likely you're not having a baby with someone who is supportive.
Yeah.
So how do you go through that struggle? How do you find a job? I mean, how do you think that you're worth more than what society has already given to you? Like if you're a baby and no one wanted to hold you, who wants to hold you when you're 25?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I like my hands down, my goal is for this to be in every single classroom of the United States. Every single kid should have access to it. And I think that's the best way.
And so, are you gonna like target Seattle first with this, or
Yeah.
like, what's your
Yeah.
go-to-market, I guess?
I go to market, my GTM. It's a great question. Need to have a awesome, sexy prototype first, don't I? I feel like I got a couple more steps before I answer that question. Yeah, my GTM, my daughter will have it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the places that have helped her, and that's been a couple places. So there's been places in Michigan and places in Seattle, and they will also, my go-to-market plan is not going to be the traditional, the Jones and Foster, probably what they would say is, filter out this way. And in the beginning, it might just be handing out my product just to some kids who I think they need it. And then I'll put it on Walmart shelves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm guessing and of course, this is like a question you probably even thought about, like down the road, you have like in different languages, they'll go to different countries, all that kind of stuff.
We're doing it without any words.
Any words? Okay. Just visuals.
Yeah. A 3 to 7 year old. How many kids who've gone through trauma are nonverbal can then read? So the idea is to be able to make it. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, eventually, like there will be different ones, different UIs that have different languages. I mean, every single language sounds great, right? But I think different cultures. I mean, the UI will have it for like, you'll say that, but the Our Father. They'll say the Gayatri. I mean, it'll be able to have these different UIs that are plugged in with it. Like, yeah, the goal is every classroom in America. And I think we as America don't actually have a designated language. So that would mean that we need all of the languages.
So far with building a startup, what's been the biggest roadblock so far? The biggest hindrance to getting to where you want to be at?
Time. Yeah, it's my biggest hindrance. You know what? No, that's a cheesy answer. Oh, time, of course. My biggest hindrance myself. I definitely have imposter syndrome. There's no doubt about it. And so I stop myself from creating something beautiful, or I do it in a way that I know is not the best way to do it. I'm like, okay, in the back of my mind, I could do it this way and it's probably more efficient, but I'm going to do it this way. But why? Right. And I think some of those answers are to deal with imposter syndrome.
Isn't it crazy like how so many people have imposter syndrome or how successful they are? So like in the last Olympics, women's gymnastics, Simone Biles, like the best gymnast all time, right? She didn't compete because she didn't compete, right? So the lady who won is a lady named Suni Lee out of the United States. She won the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
And like she did an interview where like she didn't believe she deserved it because if Simone Biles was there, I wouldn't have won, right? Like the guy was like, "Well, you won." He's like, "No, but I didn't deserve to win. I shouldn't have won, right?" And like I'm thinking, like, man, you're the best gymnast in the world, Olympic gold medalist, all around gyms, and you have imposter syndrome. Like, what hope do the rest of us have, right?
Right. And I'm telling you, Simone wasn't there, right? I mean, she did have the twisties. And so at that moment in time, she was the best in the world. And so for her not to believe that's
it's mind-boggling.
It is. But is that also what drives us too? What makes us work so hard?
Yeah, no, like what's the thing? Is it better, like, if you do, is it better, like, suppose you do 10 things, you do 9 great on average. Is it better to be laud your success on 9 things? Is it better to be driven by the failure, so to speak, to make yourself better,
Well, and how do you keep yourself humble?
Yeah.
like how can you say, yeah, I'm the best in the world, right? Without sounding like you're a little too cocky.
I mean, unless you're Simone Biles who just won like her 8th straight world championship, straight like that. Like, okay, maybe you get to do it right.
How does she even come out and say like, oh, I'm the, even Phelps, right? How does he come out when he was the best in the world? You can come out, but then how do you still,
It's definitely a fine line.
yeah, yeah. And finding that's really hard to find. And yeah, it's pretty easy to cross too, right? For sure. I was definitely not humble when I was 23 years old. And I was like, I got a great job walking around. Yeah, no, I definitely was way cockier than I needed to be.
So what's the name of your company again?
It's called VirWave.
And so is that name you had even kind of purpose for you? Or was just a random name you picked out?
Purpose. Vir means hero in Sanskrit, and or to overcome, and wave. And so you have to overcome the wave.
Okay.
We're teaching kids to overcome the wave. One of my thoughts, my daughter comes to me and she says, Mom, I had a really big wave and I breathed. And she's like, well, she didn't say breathe. She said, I smelled the flower. I blew out the candle and then the wave went away. So that's the goal.
Okay. All right. And then think what else? What's your plan for hiring people?
My plan for hiring people. Okay. So money sounds great. Yeah. Money. Some people are into it. I've had a couple people who said they were into it. They were part of my team and just kind of, I thought they were really good, but they really spread myself thin. And so looking at someone and saying, how can you actually help? This is when I would be selfish. How can you actually help me?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm doing everything for them. So how can you help me be able to do things better?
I guess like you bring someone on where like a contract employer or maybe outside agency
Mhm.
to have you do something, and then they start telling you what to do. Like, dude, I already know how to post social media. I already know how to do this right. I hired you to do this right. And they want to tell you how to do it. Like, what am I paying you for?
Right. Yeah. No. Definitely. Like if I hired you, well, and that's why I like the 30, 60, 90, right? I can bring in someone, I bring them in for 90 days and I'm pretty open in the first stages like that, right? Like I want people to be surrounded and say you might not have the awesome, prestigious HCDE degree from UW, but you're into it. So you've read all the books, right? But you actually have, an arts degree. But you come in and 90 days later, you're like, hey, I've looked at what they're doing in different countries. I think we should apply this. It should have this sound, it should be this motion, right? Then I'll talk to them and say, hey, you're a great asset on the team. How can we figure out, let's hone on your strengths, study a little bit, and I want to hear your opinion on this aspect. And I'm going to have you do this for a couple months and see how you do and see if you're happier and passionate about this, then I'll do that. And see how they actually mold with the team because if they're able to work with each other better.
Yeah, one thing I don't think we talk about enough is like how like everyone wants to start right. Everyone wants to work for a startup, and get all the super fancy stuff, make millions of dollars. The fact is, after 6 months, pretty much all of them leave, right? Because like that, because there's no money, no funding has been raised, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect someone to work for you for free for 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like just so, I think we started to go through so many people because of that.
Yeah. I think I've felt that too with, people are working and we're trying to raise money. And then they're like, well, we can't do this because I need money and this money right away. And, so I can't worry about money that's coming from six months from now or even a year from, right. And it's like, well, I get that. But that's also how you pick and choose people who are passionate about the product because they don't have to work full time on it. They can work 5 minutes a week, but if they're passionate about it and they want to put the 5 minutes in, that sounds great, right? We'll bring you in when we can help pay your bills. Like I get that. Keeping them in, again, it's interesting and extrinsic value and where I am located in my family and my life and what I'm doing with the company, right? So if I feel like I'm doing if I'm working on it full force, getting a lot of things done, I don't know. If they're good people, I'll give them a break. I would love to be able to have the money to be able to pay for people though. Once I'm at that point in time where I'm bringing in money, my team will be built from a wide range of people. I mean, ex-cons to Harvard.
I remember someone did a question on Twitter one day. It was like, if you were like to magically raise money today, what would you spend it on? People said, tech, market advance. Of 100 answers, me and two other people, were only three who said we wanted to pay our people right.
Oh, wow.
Everyone else said like tech, all this. Only three of us said to pay our people. So I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of insightful, right? How people think,
Tech. Yeah, but
you got to pay your people though.
yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. So if I can get to the point that everyone's sitting on a
Oops.
Oh, like, did the intern do his job right?
No, Jason did not do his job.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be really cool if we could get to a point that I can pay everyone to be able to get the things that they want in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could get all the money raised right away.
Yeah. What do you think the future of fundraising is, right? Because like I had an article, I read an article someone sent to me where like based on this time, compared to this time last year, funding in Seattle startups has gone down 35%. PCT has gone down by 50%,
The future? The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right?
Yeah.
So I think the future is
Like if you raise money before, you probably have a better advantage versus someone who's never raised it before, I think.
yeah. Oh yeah, hands down. And what can the rich people get a tax write-off for? And what can their books make their books look good? How do you do that, right? And do they want to have their books look good? I think a lot of people are understanding that our waters are higher degrees than they should be. And so if you're funding anything in that world, rich people.
So you're going to fundraise for your company, you're going to bootstrap it as long as you can.
I'm going to bootstrap it. I want to bootstrap it and see where I go. I would like to fundraise, but I need to trust the people that I'm surrounding myself with.
You definitely got to have the right match, so to speak.
Yeah. And grants. I'll be doing grants. So, and the grants, I got a couple grants. The grant sounds great. You get the free money from the government to do. It's already sitting there.
So for your company, can you tell us like how it got started, what you're focused on now, what your big term, like long-term plan is for it?
Yeah. So it got started because I was falling to pieces. Absolutely falling to pieces. I have been one of those parents that trusted their daughter. The judicial system, it's not so hot. And it tore me apart. And then I needed to create something. I was scared, so scared that when she was 25, maybe she would get mad at me and tell me I didn't do everything that I could to help her. I was like, okay, well, if she's going to be mad at me when she's 18 or 25 or whatever age she's mad at me, I need to have a product that's in a place she can see. And so I wanted to create a product that could sit on the shelves at a store or be, advertised online, right? But I needed her to see the product. I needed her to see that I tried my hardest. And so I combined my loves, technology, my girls, yoga, and found that's what kids need. And if I'm able to help her, why not help? And then I just kept diving into these statistics. And I'm like, well, shit, I have to help. Like, I got to help everyone. Like, if I'm going to be on the shelf, right, for my kid, how many people do not have that parent that's there? And it just got me overthinking. So kids carry stuffed animals, and not everyone has access to a phone. And therapists don't start talking to kids until they're usually 6 years old. And so I needed something to help give kids younger an opportunity to practice what they're doing. And also most of your neurons are connected by the time you're 5. So if you've gone through something traumatic before you're 5, it can rewire your brain, but meditation can help rewire it So you can process things healthier.
Um, and how long should a kid meditate? Does that matter?
No, no. Kids can meditate for 5 minutes. You know what my goal is for the toy? My goal is it can be like slam proof and you can throw it, right? It's to get a kid that would throw it to not throw it. So if a kid can meditate for a breath, like I said, 1 second can change the rest of your life. If a kid can meditate for a breath, they can change the course of their life.
And why a stuffed animal versus like a doll or action figure?
Hard. I mean, they need to be snuggled. I love snuggles. Kids love snuggles, right? I mean, most of us do. Some of us don't like snuggles, but they don't like snuggles, and the stuffed animal can give them snuggles. Yeah.
So if you could, what's a perfect day for you?
The perfect day for me. The perfect day, which is interesting. I love.
Just waking up making pancakes for kids be the first off, right?
Mm, no, I love waking up and I love snuggling with them, but I love the sunrise. Like if I could actually wake up, I think it would be traveling. I love like the islands, not Orcas, but Lopez. I love Lopez. And so, yeah, waking up, seeing the water. I need to be in the water. So I guess a perfect day, waking up, snuggling with them. You know what? Okay, I could see that. Making some pancakes.
Before sunrise.
I have to be somewhere though. I have to be in a different place. Like if I'm camping or if I'm, renting like a little 1-bedroom, you know what I mean? Like something, I need that. That's what I need, or in a tent or whatever, right? I need to be with nature. So I need to wake up, and if there's an access to like making some pancakes or making some cereal, like just enjoying our time together, going to a farmer's market, getting some food that's fresh, that's local from the area, and then jumping in the water, no matter how cold it is, being in a sauna afterwards, taking a big bubble bath. I love that. Reading, a good fire, a big blanket, pancakes, but I like my nighttime pancakes.
Okay.
So I don't want to wake up and cook. Yeah, we make a lot of nighttime pancakes. Yeah, I think there's this protein bar, of course, I'm American, capitalistic. I love my protein bars, my breakfast. If someone's making me breakfast in bed, I will take the breakfast in bed.
Okay.
Yeah, if my kids bring, I'm good with that. But yeah, that's a perfect day. Just slowing down, nothing.
So you've done a few startups. What's something like when you first started doing this, like you kind of struggled with, it was really hard for you, but now you're like, why did I struggle with that?
Customer discovery.
So customer discovery.
Yeah, customer discovery. Yes, very, very difficult for me. And because I didn't know the plan. And maybe that's a little bit of narcissism in me. I hope not. I'm really working on that, but yeah, no, it's just understanding the steps. That was really hard for me. Writing was hard. I'm a creative writer, but writing pitch was really hard for me. 30-second pitch, I couldn't come up with that for nothing. And now I can help other people bring their stories to life, which is really cool.
And how much networking do you do?
I used to do a lot. Now I feel like the more I spend on networking, the less time I'm actually spending on building the product I'm talking about.
How do people balance that, right? Because obviously you need a network to meet people, put your stuff out there.
Mhm.
But then again, I know people I mean, if you thought about it, you could do a networking event in Seattle every day. There's always something
Oh,
going on, right?
yeah.
But then how do you balance meeting people, networking versus like you say, building your product, right?
Yeah. So I think in the first stage, like you got, like, if you already know, like, kind of steps, how to build a business, right? If you're in the customer discovery, I think you have to network. You have to talk to people. You have to see it's already out there, right? Test the product, test the people. And then you hone in on the prototype. And then you go around to all the networking events and say, hey, I have this prototype. Check it out, right? Because then you're just not talking the talk, you're walking the talk, right? Or walking the walk. And so that way, then you need to separate your time. And I think that's what's phenomenal actually about this day and age, and even Seattle, is that you can say, hey, this was great, but I'm not going to be able to make it this time. The best advice I got from someone was said, we will always be here. Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's true. And if they're not there for like 2 months, or you missed a connection, if the connection is supposed to be there, it will be there. Because especially networking in Seattle, you meet one people, you can get down the chain. And
Do you have any go-to networking events in Seattle that you can recommend?
the go-to,
Yeah.
the Artemis, so for women in business, she's part of UW. I think she's pretty good. Amy, honestly, it's Amy.
Amy
Yeah.
Swanson?
Yes.
Yeah, she's I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah. Like if you need someone or
She's so
something.
flexible, yeah.
Yeah. She'll put you she will tell you where you need to be,
Yeah.
which is really nice. So I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's my go-to.
Yeah. Amy, yeah. She does some amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I mean, people are doing amazing things, right? In an entrepreneur world, like you meet someone like you're building what? Like I would never thought to do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's pretty interesting. Then you hear some stupid ideas too, don't you?
I mean, man, my pet peeve, some of my pet peeves, do we really need another food delivery app?
Yeah, I know.
Do we really need another, you know, colored bicycle on a sidewalk not being used? Do we really need another? Do we really need another HR recruiting app? So many out there.
Well, a t-shirt, but we get to have fun. And if it's a stepping stone, and if it's a stupid idea, or it's fun, it's helping them learn, right?
I just think, what problem is tech really solving right this? I think too many tech people solve I won't say a bullshit problem, but like I said, another, delivery app, is tech really solving big problems, right?
Does it solve the big problems? Jason, what are the big problems to you?
I mean, that's a good question. Of course, being a sales first comes to mind is homelessness,
Yeah.
a lot of diversity stuff, getting to space, making life better.
Yeah. Is getting to space the biggest problem, or is trying to figure out a way that we don't actually have to get into space, right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm all about
that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, yeah.
And then do VCs and investors, are they do they even want to invest in those what's it called, moon projects, right? They don't want to invest in that, because you invest in a moon project, probably gonna get a return on your investment. If you invest in a delivery app, we're all getting a return on your investment.
Yeah, I mean, or they just care about software. They don't care about hardware. And so if you advertise, if you just add software to your project, then they're like, oh, that's fascinating. That's phenomenal. Did you even do the customer discovery?
Yeah. I think last year everyone wanted to be a Web3 company. Now everyone wants to be an AI company.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get to the point. I mean, of course, I use that fancy little lingo with VirWave. It's an AI meditation education toy, right? I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I mean, are we just using if-then statements? Yes, we are. We have an AI company. Of course. Oh, you get to the point, you're like, well, what gets the customers super excited? I mean, that's that. that angle, you can get the early adapters, but how do you get the peak where majority people sit, but it's been around for a while? That's why you got a little add AI to it.
Oh, definitely. So what do you like? So you're in the space?
I'm in a space, I'm in a water, I'm in a nature. I'm into things that scare the fuck. And I want to emphasize that just in case you had to take it away.
So speaking of that, Elon Musk has a lottery. And if you win the lottery, you're going to be on the first trip to Mars.
Okay.
You win the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
And you say your kids are grown, right? They're like 19, 25 years old.
Perfect. Of course you asked me that. Yeah. Because I'm like,
they're like 20 years in the future, trying to figure out how to get to Mars.
Yeah.
You win the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
You going?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hands down.
Even though it'd be gone for 2 years, all that kind of stuff.
I'm going to be gone 2 years anyways because my sailing trip.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have to sacrifice your sailing trip.
So yeah, everyone's already know, like if they want to see me, they can either hop on the boat or they can fly to the country that I'm going to be like docking at.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm in Mars, I'm in Mars for a couple of years. Yeah. Okay. Why not?
So easy decision.
Of course. Yeah. And Mama needs her time.
Cool. Is there anything else that I asked you that I didn't, or anything else you want to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
You asked phenomenal questions. You did really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's always the goal.
No, I really appreciate it. Definitely get me, can be nervous talking about things. What should I ask you?
Anything you want to, I guess. I mean,
how do you feel about what I'm doing?
I think it's needed. I mean, I think it's definitely out the box, I do think the challenge is going to be like convincing parents to do it right. Most parents like, I don't need this, or they're like stuck in their ways. I was raised this way. I'm raising my parents this way. What's this stuff I'm going to do for my kids?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think the thing, like, I'm definitely intrigued by the foster kid thing, right?
Oh yeah, because then you take parents.
Yeah.
Out of it. Yeah.
Definitely think that, right? Yeah. And of course, like like other questions, like how do you make it? What fabric? What size? All these questions. I'm sure you'll think about later.
Those are getting to me. Yeah, so I have the size down. That's why the prototype's taking a little bit, but.
And then for the prototypes, you'll make it like extra special care, but perfect. But how do you like keep that same mentality, so to speak, if you're able to start mass producing them, right? Like, how do you still have the same level of care from their first prototype versus you're making like thousands in some, factory somewhere,
I think you always care. You always have to.
Yeah.
But that's why it's human-centered design, because I feel like when you pursue it in that direction, then you're pursuing it in a way that you're.
But then if your company gets really big, like how do you make sure like, employee number 100 has the same passion as like employee number 3, right? Like how do you determine that, right? Like I can't even do that, right? Like employee 100, is he getting hired because he needs a job, or is he getting hired because he actually believes in like, what you're doing, right?
Realistically, they're probably wanting to work there for both, right?
Yeah.
I think I can get them to care if I care about them.
Yeah.
So if they want 4 days a week, work your 4 days, because I bet you'll do a lot better job working those 4 days than if I had you working 7 days a week. So how do I get them to care, and how do I make sure that's the one? Bottom up. If the 100th cares, then I still care, right? What are these tattoos?
So this is right here. That's my grandson. This one's supposed to symbolize focus. This is like what's it called? A clock. You run out of time. I'm from Texas, so that's for Texas. Lubana for Texas. I'm Roman Catholic, so that's the cross for St. Peter. This is for the serotonin, happiness thing.
Yeah.
I'm Sagittarius. So me and my 2 nieces in Dallas last December, we got these matching tattoos. Yeah. This is what's his name? Neil Tyson DeGrasse, that scientist, has a thing where everything in us is like stars. So this is DNA for we're on the stars. Another Roman Catholic thing. This is the chemical for LSD. There's different ones, yeah. Come and take it from my town, Gonzales, Texas. So different ones, yeah. run into space. So I got a Rick and Morty tattoo here.
So you're hopping on Mars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. We can totally do that. I have a matching semicolon.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that. I like the other one. I'll have to look that up. The we're made of stars.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And so, how many kids do you have?
I have 3. Dog like growing out the house,
Mm-hmm. Are we really ever out the house?
I mean, my kids want to think they are.
Yeah, I can still.
The thing is, like,
some
I
mom
don't care
time.
if your parent, like, no matter how old your kids do or what they do, you always like their baby. They're your babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're always like, they always need you. When I'm like, but reality, in their mind, I don't need you anymore. I'm on my own, right?
Yeah. So, how have you, as a parent, how would I have convinced you to buy this product?
That's a good question. Probably now you have a better chance now versus like 15 years ago. 15 years ago, like, what is this crap? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not buying this. Of course, my kids said I want it, I'd buy it from 'em, right? But like, if you said meditation and stuff, like, 15 years ago, meditation, that's for like quacks and like, weirdos, and, all these hippie people, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now it'd be a lot easier now, me personally, right?
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if I could, if I what's something that you had to stop doing when your kids were younger that you wanted to do?
Mm, Man, that's a good question. So being in the army, I didn't really spend no time with them because I always like deploying, doing stuff. Like in the army, people don't realize like you have to be at physical training at 6:30 in the morning, which means you have to work at 5. Like me, I was an officer. I was pretty much gone every day from like 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Right, all the time, right. And then that's not count deployments, training, or whatever. So I really spend any time with my kids, right. So some way to have time back with them.
Yeah. Yeah. How is being integrated back into their life after deployment?
It was difficult, I'll be honest with you, because I mean, like even today, like nowadays, like they talk to the mom all the time. My daughter in Dallas calls every day. Like me, I'm just some random dude, that lives there, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it was difficult, right? Because when you're gone, like the wife or spouse gets used to do everything, right? And so you can try to come back and play the father role, and they're looking like, "What are you doing, right? You've been gone for a year. Like this is how we live now, right?" So it's
Yeah.
very difficult, right? And a lot of people have trouble with that. That's why you have a lot of like domestic abuse in the military. That, like people coming back, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, that's a way to target, right?
Yeah,
You,
actually it is. Yeah,
you can come back and you get this quality time in the meditation. And then you get to talk about the different times that you wanted to throw the toy and then you didn't throw the toy together, right? How much you can reduce domestic violence because you both are understanding and taking that second to make a different
yeah.
decision.
The army is doing a better job of that. Is like trying to like do that kind of stuff. Where back in the day, it's like okay, or whatever, come be ready to do the mission. They're doing a better job of it now, though.
Yeah, well, they've had to. Yeah, especially, yeah, social media and everyone that's actually taking a stand. So that's really good.
And for your product, is the plan like maybe like I see you like maybe like doing 1, 2 like self help videos, right? Like use it like this, use it like this.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I would love to be able to design
Or
it.
even better, have like a 4-year-old kid do the demo. Like have your daughter do the demo, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's the idea is that when you are on it, like you should be able to know where it turns on, where it turns off, and it should just be able to teach you through it. It should be super simple, right? And so the idea is, yeah, both my daughters.
So how did you decide how you're gonna decide what meditations to put in there? I'm sure like 'cause I have an app called Insight. Like, have you heard of an app called Insight?
Mm-hmm.
There's like literally millions of meditation on there from millions of people almost like so how do you decide what meditation to put on there?
So that's where it's an infinite number amount of animals. And so I correlate it with the animals. So I can give an example, just in case someone else wants to steal it. But if you're going to steal it and do something good with it, do your thing,
More
right?
power to you, right?
Yeah. Just, I'm cool with helping you too. If you want to steal it, like I'll hop on your bandwagon. But yeah, so for an example, brain spotting. Remember Sandy Hook, 2012?
Mhm.
So they use this method.
Was that their high school that you went to?
No. So I went to Oxford, and that was the high school that I went to.
Okay.
Sandy Hook is elementary school.
Okay.
And so yes, so I was pregnant with my second child when Oxford happened, and
Is this Oxford, Mississippi?
Oxford, Michigan.
Oxford, Michigan. Okay.
Yeah, and And then I found out some things with my daughter just a little bit after that. And why are we not helping these kids? I mean, we are, but why is that not our first priority? But yes, so the UI, so Sandy Hook was the elementary school. So take my water bottle. So think of like a wand, right? Look at the tip of this and then you move it. So you have to have someone out of 1 to 10. They have to be at a 7 and above. So essentially they want to just throw the water bottle, right? So you have them spot. And then where you feel the most pain is when you tell me to stop the water bottle, right? So say if this is where you feel the most pain in your body, I stop it here. My UI, so I have an axolotl. It's coming up, right? So axolotl swims in water. A bubble comes by and it moves it back and forth and rewires. And like it just moves it back and forth and the kid will stop the bubble. Once the bubble stops, then water trickles in the background and starts like giving them like a serenity process, right? I can take my daughter who is screaming, stimming, having a really hard time. I get her to stop the bubble. She then gets to control. She realizes at that moment in time, she can control that in life. She can't control everything, but she can control that. So that bubble stops and then she sees that water trickle and that starts relaxing.
Okay.
And so we're looking at, and so for an example, for Sandy Hook, they used this type of method with the elementary school kids. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to say any words. They just stop the bubble. And that's a different type of UI. So I'm testing and making sure the meditations that I'm using are specific for kids. I have an unlimited box. And if everyone buys all of the stuffed animals, they have access to all of the different stuffed, the different types of meditations. But it's just they finding their way to be able to breathe.
So as a startup entrepreneur or just in life in general, people get told no all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, let's say just storm, they get told no one time and they stop. But startup founders, we get told no all the time. How do you deal with like hearing no all the time? What's your resiliency method to like keep on going despite hearing no all the time?
I think 2 things. One is, same. Was it Ray Nitschke? He said, if you fall down 7 times, get your ass up 8 times, right? So that one. And then I say my mom never said no to me when I was growing up. So when she said no, I listened. But handling the no, people are going to say no. They say no every aspect, everywhere you go. I get told no in things that do not make sense to me in life. I can't grasp it. It doesn't make A plus B equals C. It's not one of those scenarios. And so being told no as an entrepreneur, why am I being told no? Am I being told no because it's a wrong customer discovery? I need to listen to someone. Am I being told no because I shouldn't do that? Like if I shouldn't do it, then maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should have a different idea. So where is that coming from? But I mean, I'm also the type of person that runs marathons and has all the things in life. Yeah.
Gonna go to Mars, still around the world.
Yeah. So,
Codes,
So I would like to know where that no is coming from. And if it's a real no. If it's a real no, I'll listen to you. If it's a asshole no, fuck you. I'm going to do it.
So speaking of asshole, I think like so many people give advice, right? I think, I know. So a lot of it's like, I don't think any of it, I'll say 90% is actually like it's good intention, right? But it's like, it's bad advice because it's like from their perspective, it's like something they've done 10 years ago. Like, how do you pick and choose all the advice you get to know which one you should follow? Which is like, I always say like blow up, but I kind of like politely ignore.
You have this life and you get to make the choices that you have in your life. So they say the 5 people around you are the people that, make you, inform you, and cause you to make decisions, right? So how you make the advice? I don't know. Call my mom all the time, ask her what I should do. And she's like, I'm not going to make the decision because you're going to blame me if it's wrong. I listen to more than one, more than two advice, and I figure out what I should do. It's my decision overall, right?
Yeah. So back employees, like how are you going to do this, right? Because like people will say, you have a startup, only hire A plus players, right? But realistically, if they're A plus power, A plus player, they probably had their own startup that they're working on, or they're making six figures at Amazon, or they're doing like some amazing stuff themselves, right?
Mhm.
And so how do you convince them to come for you to work for a startup, right? It's hard to do. And then like they'll say don't hire C plus players, but if C plus players are the only people you can bring on, like what do you do, right?
Yeah. Bill Gates, he's like, I'd take a lazy employee over a faster employee because
Yeah,
they're, yeah, they'll
yeah.
find a way to do it
Oh,
more
yeah.
efficient,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right.
I mean, how are we labeling these C plus players,
Yeah.
right? Like if we're labeling them that they're lazy, like, well, shit, you lazy, you want to work 3 days, but you build something in that
Yeah.
3 days that knocks it down again from
Yeah.
like 120 hours to
Yeah.
12 seconds, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I'll take that C plus player.
Yeah. I definitely think you gotta bring on whoever you convince to come on. And then because like, it might be a C plus player for like, John Bob. They might become A plus player because, you motivate them or they have more passion for it. Like suppose like someone works for like a tax firm, somebody works for like a CPA as an accountant, right? And they're a C plus player because they hate the job. They come work for you because they're passionate about what you're doing. They become an A plus player, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's kind of interesting too, because that also is that their character development? Are they always going to be putting in 100% in everything that they do? Right. Because if you're not, you're only putting in things 100% with things that you do like, that's almost a character flaw. Right.
Yeah.
But it is also a lot easier to be into something if life is easier. Yeah. Right. And what is important? Like if I talk to them and they honestly said, hey, this job, I worked all the time. It was hard. I like playing video games. I like to play video games. I want to work for you. But, I'll give you like a good 18 hours, a week. And it's like, thank you for your honesty, right? Great. I will take you over someone who's going to tell me that they're going to work every single day of the week because I promise you need something else more. And we might be doing some good things, but you also need to be able to do the things you want to do.
Yeah.
My overall answer. You gotta trust people when you're hiring them.
Yeah.
How can you trust someone when they're trying to get a job? They're lying to you in some way. They're not as cool as they say.
Yeah, like the interview process is so flawed. You think about you interviewing someone, the company, they'll want to put this is the best company in the world to work for. The employee or the candidate, I'm the best person to hire. They're both lying, right? Like people say hire slow. Like I'm kind of against it. Like I'm not saying like meet someone and hire them, but like only way you know if someone's gonna work for you well is like you bring them on, right?
Yeah.
Because you might be the perfect candidate, but get to work and like they have some annoying habit, right? Like like maybe they just do that all day long. Dude, stop doing that. You drive me batshit crazy, like
maybe you need a little bit of meditation and if that's irritating you.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it though, right? This guy next to me when I worked, he clipped his nails. I'm like, why are we're staring at computers?
I had a guy like
Go
that.
clip your nails at home.
I had a guy like that. My first summer job, this dude clipped his nails every day. And it was so fucking loud. It just drove me batshit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, why are we all back into office?
That's
clipping our nails.
People don't talk about remote work. They talk about the high productivity. The thing you need to talk about is remote work is like, you don't have to be around all these annoying people all the time, right?
Seriously.
People are annoying.
Well, and you don't have to have like, I have an obscene amount of confidence. Like I love myself, right? And I love other people, but like I get super nervous about even like my weird mannerisms around people. Yeah. Right. Like and it takes me away from then concentrating at work. Like even your nose, like I have allergies. I'm always sniffling up my nose. Right. So I don't want to irritate someone or think I'm sick when I got allergies 24/7, so I'm like, all the time.
But you never hear people talking about the pro remote work. You have to be around annoying people or all this kind of stuff, or.
Yeah. Are they also the same ones that are annoying when you do work remotely too, though?
Yeah. That's a good point.
I think I'm the annoying one when I work remotely because I'm an extrovert. And I want human connection. So I'm like, hi, I'm going to ask you 1,000 questions. So I get to feel like I'm with humanity right now.
So being an extrovert, how did you deal with that during COVID?
I had my daughter,
Yeah.
and I had class every day.
Okay.
And at that point in time, I had a good friend that I talked to on the phone all the time. But it was hard. I think it almost made me an introvert.
Yeah.
Not fully. It's really hard.
Yeah. So like COVID, like I'm an introvert, right? I'm like actually an INFJ. That's 1% of the world. So I'm an introvert.
Okay.
I'm an introvert. But even me, I was like, damn, I need to talk to somebody besides my wife and kids, right?
Well,
Even now, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous, right? I don't understand the lockdown, but man, I gotta go talk to someone else.
so it came out and it was like, talk to your extrovert friends. We're not doing okay.
So,
and 4 months later, it came out being like, talk to your introvert friends. They're not doing okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna cope with this hard. A lot of extrovert friends like they'll complain. I had no interaction. I was like, now you know how I feel. And when I go to like events,
Yeah. And but like 6 months later, everyone is like, wow, we need human connection. So I do think the process made me even more socially awkward than I am. So now when I do talk to people, we had a whole like 2 years. How did we learn how to approach people or talk to them? And you forget how to. And yeah, my daughter, she likes this kindergartner at school, right? And she's like, I just stared at him. She's like, she's so excited. Right? I stared at him. I was like, did he stare back? And she's like, no. And I stared at him. I'm like, this is how socially awkward we have.
One of my COVID, I do miss all the Zoom antics, right? All the remember that time that lawyer was on TV or had a Zoom call. There's like 4 lawyers and a judge. The one lawyer had a cat screen on him. He's like, I'm not a cat.
Oh my God, I do remember that. That was far away. Oh my goodness.
Judge, I'm not a cat. I know that you're not a cat. There's a filter.
I couldn't get the filter off.
No. That was the number one memory for me from COVID. Like that guy. That was so viral. Like, Your Honor, I'm not a cat.
The number one. Oh, I miss it though. I do, because I felt like we were craving human connection so much that we were being intentional with people. And I that's something special, right? And you didn't say no. Like you could say no. Like I saved a lot of money during COVID because there weren't events and stuff to go to. You're not like eating at Lumen Field, paying $35 for a $3 meal. Yeah. So, I mean, you get those events, right? But in the pluses and minuses.
Yeah. Last again, anything else you want to talk about? Any questions I didn't ask you?
No, I think that was nice.
Thanks. That's always my goal. So can you give us your social media so people can reach out to you?
So yes, my social media, it's VirWave. Check out VirWave on Instagram and then email me at virwave.com.
Okay. And then can you give us any advice on anything you want to talk about?
I will. I'll say the quote again. And I'll have tears in my eyes. 97% of kids that report abuse and only 4% are believed. Believe the child that tells you that they're being abused. Believe them and listen to them and be there for them.
Thanks for that, Kate. Kate, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.